Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to the grand finale of season number 16 of the Kumo Ties. Sorry, that was last season. Season number 16 of the V8 Veterans. Scott Rankin and Summer Mazoma behind the scenes once again, and Daniel Yeaman will be bringing you all the shots live from the track. It is time to crown a champion in what is one of the best numbers of seasons. You know, I was looking at seasons coming up, Mez, and well, season 16, it's a square of 4, so it's a nice round number. Works really well in terms of commuted programming. 8s and 16s are always quite important. 16's a great number, so that must mean season 17 is going to be terrible.
That's right. I was going to start off with Guten Abend, you know, show my German off, but no, you've completely thrown me for a loop. But no, it's good to see that the numbers are coming up, and although I've only sort of just come along to this series as a commentator, it's every race I've seen so far has been awesome to watch. So hopefully those numbers keep growing, and we get to see some more awesome action as the seasons go on.
I love throwing you under the bus from the very get-go. Anyway, season number 16 is coming to a conclusion. It's coming to a conclusion tonight. All of the drop rounds for the drivers racing for championship standings have all been calculated. Tonight will be the final round. It must count to your points total. We'll be getting to points totals because that is the critical thing moving in. We're here tonight in Oschersleben in the heartland of Germany. A very popular track, albeit provided we take this layout of turn 1 and turn 2. Otherwise, it may not be one of the most popular tracks. I believe, was it John Cleland that did not like the old Correct. Turn 1, turn 2 layout? Yep. This turn 1, turn 2 layout. You've driven it a few times already. And that pit lane, Mez, that pit exit, it is not the easiest to get out and off tonight.
No, it definitely isn't. Surprisingly enough, you look at that pit entry and you think it's very technical coming in. Once you practice it a couple of times, it's not that bad, but pit exit is really hard. What drivers have to be very careful of is when you turn right to sort of head back to the racetrack, you can't take too much of that inside curve, otherwise it gives you a unsafe release. And as you come back onto the track through turn 2, hotel, if you go over the white line just a little bit too much, it'll also give you an unsafe release. So very precise you need to be on pit exit. Otherwise, yes, if you get an unsafe release, it's going to ruin a night very quickly.
Yeah, and where pit lane entry feeds off, very similar to Winton last week as well. Very similar layout and that sort of style of things. So a few of the drivers will be a little bit more practice with the pit lane entry. It's a lot of flowing fast corners here. You have a look at turn 1, turn 2. It's about chaining them together. It's about sort of adding a kink to your braking zone, really. 3, it's about settling the car, turning it nicely. Do you go for the late apex? Do you go for the dive bomb line, try and take a position away? The flowing 4, 5, and 6, it's realistically just a triple apex corner. That's why it's got the tag name triple. Then down to 7, set yourself up for the McDonald's chicane. Turn 10 is quite critical, I think, in terms of lap pace down here, as well as shell curve and almond curve. That chicane is tricky. It is technical. Where do you go? Where do you position? How much of the track limits do you take on the right-hand side on the way out? 13 and 14, you can pick up all of the time gain all the way down through that back section, but that exit of that second chicane in particular, Mez, there is a big slowdown on offer there if you push the limits too far.
Yeah, absolutely. That turn 10 one, as you mentioned, there's lots of time to be gained there. Can guarantee you there is lots of time there. The line coming into that, you come through McDonald's really quick. You can actually use a lot of that inside curb. You're almost running 3/4 of the car over that curb. You'll see it. You'll see the cones that are on the inside get knocked out quite a bit. But because you're coming in so quick, you've got to be able to pull the car up and run that inside apex at 10. If you run it a little bit too wide, it completely ruins the corner and you have no pace down the back straight. And then the same thing for 11 and 12, same sort of thing. Those corners, you really got to pull them up, nail the apex, and nail the drive off the corner. Coming there that little bit too hot completely ruins the pace coming off the corner as well. Turn 14, I'll point out as well, looks fairly simple. It is probably one of the hardest parts of the track to get right with just the way it is. Very easy to run wide. You catch that the gravel on the outside will unsettle the car very quickly, so very important to get turn 14 right. And even when the tires start to wear off, it becomes even more important, because as soon as you light the wheels up a little bit too much, you start bleeding time very quickly.
Yeah, and it sucks you into the inside as well there, Mez. We're going to get an update in terms of what the race info looks like, ladies and gentlemen. 55 laps to conclude the season here tonight. Not one of the gangbuster long races that we had on the mid-season. This is going to be a medium length race, 80 litres to start us off. They will be able to fill it up all the way up to that maximum capacity. 2.85 is the data that Dan was able to grab for us off of the background. I was talking to Craig, Friend and Co, and got some more of Goosey's fuel cost. They're looking at 2.7 litres a lap. They think that the fuel burn and the pace will dip as the stint goes on quite aggressively as well, Mez.
Interesting to see if that will be the case. The pace was fairly decently quick when we ran here. Obviously, Scops ran here just the week before, and pace was fairly good the whole way through. Surprisingly, the tyre drop-off is not horrible, but yeah, so we just
on open set, no missed.
True, correct, yeah. So yeah, everyone probably tuning it to their setups, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if the fuel burn actually is like that. I wouldn't expect it to drop down that much.
Yeah, so remembering that data was pulled from an open set, this has been balanced to give our drivers all the same setup to run out there and crunch laps on. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk point standings at the very end of the season. Actually, no, you know what? We'll talk fuel. We're already talking race strategy. We'll talk fuel instead. This is what it looks like. They reckon from full throttle on an open setup, you'll have to pit after lap 17 to get home. Again, I'm hearing numbers as early as lap 12. I'm hearing numbers as late as lap 17. Lap 18 is your critical number. You pit on 17, you'll definitely make it home. So there seems to be quite a wide strategy window here. Guys saying they can get it on lap 12. That's a 16-lap pit window. 28 laps seems to be the maximum distance that we're looking at. Maybe 30.
Interesting. 30, you'll struggle to make it to 30. You'll honestly struggle to make it 30 laps. I don't see that happening. Lap 12 for an early stop, that I don't know how you're going to make that one work. As you can sort of see, lap 17's that sort of that start point. Yeah, as you're sort of saying, if people could get that fuel number down, maybe lap 12 can work. It's not really a track. Most of the tracks that you could do really good fuel saving on are those high speed tracks. This doesn't sort of feel like that as much. There's a lot of stop starting corners. There's not a lot of long straights. So be interesting to see if they're going to go that fuel saving route. It'd be interesting to see how they go with that.
Big note from the drivers as well was that tires are actually more of the critical factor. They said splitting the race in two, getting in on lap 27 and running to the end, 28 lap run to the end of the race is possible. If you're going that far, you may as well just run the fuel burn out. So that's what they said, 30. That's what they were targeting was 30. In the meantime though, now it's time to talk about the point scenario. And coming out of last week was such a good race at Winton. We've got point margins that are single digit. There is 1 point gap in split one that is a dead heat coming into this last race. It will literally be whoever takes it out on track. But then let's also talk bonus points. This is something we haven't talked most of the season thus far. 1 bonus point for getting the pole position. That's already gone the way of Scott Gamble. We'll talk about the grid in a few moments. 1 bonus point on offer for fastest lap of the race. But Mez, 5 bonus points for a 0x race. Oschersleben's got track limits that are really harsh around here. That is going to be difficult to achieve.
It'd be difficult, but I definitely think it's achievable. That turn 10 chicane that we were talking about before, turn 9, 10 chicane through McDonald's. That's an easy place to get an off track. Coming out of turn 12, it's an easy place to get an off track. But I think if that's going to be your plan, I think it's definitely achievable. But yeah, a lot of laps to make that work.
Well, it's that's the points graph. When we talk about the scenarios that are on offer, Scott Gamble, his only goal, get a finish in this race. If he can do that and he can finish inside the top 40, it's lights out, it's all over. Barring post-race penalties. That was the only one that didn't actually come into our little strategy meeting. So he will be looking for a clean race, and I get the essence that it's clean race that he's basically after. For Scott Gamble to lose this championship, for Brenton Nitschke to take the championship, Gamble must effectively, for Nitschke, needed to grab the pole, didn't do that, so that's a point back in Gamble's favour. Then it's a long ask, 44th or 43rd, and Nitschke must score 93 points. Now, again, if Gamble doesn't make that 75% race distance, line through it, mathematical options open up.
Yep, and that battle, like we still look at the sort of guys, Brent Nitschke, Dan Hall, Jeff Thomas, that battle for second, third, and fourth is going to be interesting because they are very, very tight as well. As you say, Scott Gamble, it's really, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, so to speak. So I think sort of looking at Gamble possibly losing his championship's a bit of an outlier. I'm interested to see how this battle for second, third, and fourth actually works out because the points are very, very close, and there's not a lot of positions between possibly those spots changing tonight.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I think the real battle here is obviously going to be between Jeff Thomas and Chris Miller in terms of that fourth position. There is only 1 point between those guys. Matt Vanderkran's a little bit of the way back, had a very strong finish last week, jumped a long way forward in terms of the points. I've just done the maths as well. I can tell you, if Gamble makes the end of lap 42, he's a classified finisher. No matter what happens. So first goal, lap 42. Anything after that doesn't matter. That's his only goal to get to, and I think he's going to be safe.
Yep. But we'll quickly get through the grid. Otherwise, going to be up for quick. But Scott Gamble on pole. Awesome job again. John Latham will pop in second place. Matt Vanderkran will come in on third place. Michael Stewart in fourth place there. Move over to Michael Quain into fifth place. Chad Lewis in sixth. Craig Friend coming up in seventh place. Brendan Nitschke. This is our second place challenger coming in eighth place. Ninth place, David Kirby. And rounding out the top 10 is Jeff Thomas.
Yeah, and then it'll be the guys that are looking to battle for position deep in the pack. Chris Miller is right back there in 11th. Damien Cairns just in behind him. Travis Hunt and Jason Fewens will round out row number 7 of your starting grid. Dan Hall is deep in the pack here tonight. Qualifying performances are starting to improve from a number of drivers. Unfortunately, Dan Hall's on the back side of that. Paul Warwick will be off alongside of him. Jamie McKnight and Robert Crisdale. That's probably Jamie McKnight's best qualifying performance since I've seen him racing in V8 Veterans. Normally starts in the rear. Steve Banks and Robbie Griffiths off from behind those guys. That rounds out the top 20. 21st, 22nd, Tim Nicol and Stephen Kennedy. Dean Flavell and Darren Crosby will be on row number 12. Andrew Hoffman and Todd Duggan, row 13. Matty Parker and Brenton O'Brien were your row number 14. 15th row of the grid, Halil Cesar and Scott McCune is your top 30. 31st and 32nd is Peter Latham and Ty Byrne. From here we get into the guys not setting a qualifying lap. One of those will be Darren Lobb. Race control, ignore that car off alongside of him. Christian Smart, Greg Sharp from the rear of the grid. Chad Vigor and Laurie Saunders are going to round us out before we are set to go green on the final night of season number 16. Scott Gamble said last season, I'm going to step back. I'm going to take it a little bit easier. I'm going to take a break. This is his champion-elect night. What can he do from the front row of the grid? Can he confirm 2 championships in a row? The revs start to rise. The final race of season number 16 from Oschersleben in Germany. It's the rundown of turn number 1. Who's got the jump? And it's a great jump on a pole position. Vanderkraan's gone backwards. Spinning tyres in the background. He's been swamped, eaten alive. There's 7 cars already gone past him. It's going to be 3 wide on the entrance to the first corner. Then he'll try and line it up for turn number 2. Gamble and Latham will lead us away. Michael Stewart finally gets the jump on Matt Vanderkraan. That one's been a long time coming, and they'll all file their way down and through. Brett Nitschke's come to a couple of spots. Chris Miller has come to a bunch as well. So has Craig Friend.
Yeah, a lot of movement in that mid-pack. They all did a fantastic job. I was watching them as they went through that turn 1-2 section. Very hard to go there. 2-3 wide in some circumstances as well. Everyone did a fantastic job to get through there. But that was a crazy start. Fucking Matt Vanderkraan just did not get that thing off the line. It just stalled, wouldn't go anywhere. Wheel spin for days. So, this is going to make his night a bit harder. Back down to 10th place. So, definitely got the pace. We've seen in rounds past that he's got the pace to get through the field. You can pass here. A lot of drivers are talking about the possibility this is going to be like Winton, hard to pass. Not the case. You will see a lot of passing in this track tonight.
We'll see about that. But in the meantime, Matt Vanderkraan did not do himself any favours on lap number 1. Nitschke's done just about all that he possibly can on that opening lap. Has actually dropped a spot even though he's gained 1, but Vanderkraan down 7 spots at the end of the first lap. Now it becomes a tyre-saving game, and it's been Vanderkraan's early pace in the stint that's been his big helper. Every single time, though, Michael Stewart and Matt Vanderkraan have gone side by side, head to head, on a number of occasions. And I tell you what, Mez, the first time tonight that Stewart is actually out here and in front of him in the head-to-head. Normally it's taken a mistake from Van der Kram to make this happen.
Yeah, well, Carter took a little bit of mistake as well, just that start. So, yeah, sometimes just that's the way it goes. You can see the battle's on track at the moment. You can see looks like Chris Millett was trying to go around the outside. Very difficult to do there. Tried to do that myself on Sunday night. Doesn't quite work. But you can see single file in through here. This is such a hard track. You grab that inside curb, try and open up that corner a little bit more, but to try and carry pace through here and not let the tyres up. This corner is very, very easy to get the tyres lit up a bit. Now you'll see him come through here using all that curb. You can see Chris Miller all over that left side curb. Now coming out of 10. Trying to keep that car balanced, doing very well so far. Everyone seems to be sort of seeing a bit of a train at the moment, but just, yeah, don't work the rears too hard. Try and use that inside curb, pull it around. So he's doing a really good job here. Maximise that curb and exit as well. Try and use all that exit curb, try and square the corner off a bit more. And now we head to that turn 14 that I was mentioning earlier, closing right up under brakes. Got that thing well hooked in there, coming off the corner. Just be careful not to use too much of that exit curb when you're coming out of 14.
I think it was the big comment that you made last week as well, just how big that Holden Commodore is and how much it blocks the view. I think that's going to be a critical factor here, as just the curbs. You've got to be able to see those curbs, sausage curbs on the inside as well that we don't get out here in Australia a lot. That is just a driver's biggest dismay when he hits one of those.
Yeah, I can confirm that one definitely. That inside of turn 14 curb, if you grab that just a little bit too much, it just spits you sideways. You can sort of just rub it and it's fine. But yeah, if you grab it just a little bit too much, it will spit you sideways, and it's not hard for someone to get a run at you by the time you get down to turn 1.
Oh, 1.5 laps already in the books. And Gamble is leading the way. It's a really good opportunity to see John Latham's return to form. Was speaking to him a couple of weeks back. He said, yeah, look, I'm just under the weather. I've had shingles. I've had a few different bits and pieces going wrong in his life. And, you know, it's not been a season for him to remember. This will be a really, really good way to sign off the season and say, hey, I'm back. I'm here in force. I'm healthy again. Let's have another attack. How important is that to his end of season confidence?
Yeah, big confidence booster for the end of season. So even if you, like I said, had a rough season, things haven't quite gone to plan, if you can finish off the season really, really well, it gives you confidence going into the next season. You know, that's sort of the big things that, you know, even personally myself through seasons, if you end a season in a bad way, it sort of takes your motivation away from really wanting to come back and have another crack. If you get end the season really, really well, it's sort of you can sort of look at that and say, look, we learned a lot. We made mistakes, things happened, you know what, we learnt from it and we came out the other side better, so now you can take all that for the next season, and obviously we'll be back for next season, so yeah, you can take everything that he's learnt and bring that forward next year and try and take the challenge to Gamble.
Yeah, and somebody else that's learnt a lot, I think, in the last sort of 6-7 months, and we've been watching the rise of Michael Stewart. He's been slowly progressing. He's gone from lurking out and around about that 10th, 11th spot. Now look where he is. He's in 3rd. Last week he was contesting for a podium. The week before he was contesting for a podium. He's chaining these finishes together, and it's been quietly going about his business. Before that, Mez, the big thing that struck me about Stewart was he found ways to get into other people's accidents. And talking about accidents, that's a perfect opportunity to jump to the tail end of our field, as the 016 car, unfortunately, has come a cropper with disaster, and that'll be Chad Vigor. And I think there was a call from Ty Byrne, who was the other car that was back there with him as well. So something going on here, which I'm sure we'll grab a replay of when that's available. Well, look at that.
Oh, yeah, we'll see what happened there. You can see side by side, Ty Byrne, I believe he's on the outside. It's a little bit of rubbing side by side, and oh, yeah, okay. That, not sure what sort of triggered all that one off there. It just seemed like two people trying to fight over the same bit of road, and yeah, as we've seen in many times, two people fighting for the same bit of road isn't going to work.
Ty Burton's actually had to go to the pit lane out of that. I'm not seeing a penalty on the board, so, and there's no mechanical black flag. I'm going to say he's got steering damage, which has not triggered a black flag. Yeah, the steering is slightly out on board of his car at the moment, I can tell you. it's not 100% straight. That's a bad picture just because he's rolling through the pit boxes, but it didn't look straight as he was rolling in there, and he's going to come in. The critical factor for me here, Maz, that's not the pit lane that's not the pit lane window opening yet, so he cannot get home from here. This will take another splash.
Yeah, absolutely, and this really puts you on the back foot. This is where you start hoping for a safety car, because that's pretty much the only way you get yourself back into this race at this point. So try and fix the damage. Hopefully, if it's a bent steering, fingers crossed it can fix it. Sometimes we've seen cases where bent steering just can't be fixed. You'll just have that for the entire time. I'm not sure if they have fast repairs available in this one fast repair. Yep. If he's taken a fast repair, then obviously it'll be a quick stop. He'll get back out and going. But again, by the time he does the pit stop and gets back out again, yeah, there's a lot of time lost, and you really need a safety car to pull yourself back into this race.
Well, with 4 laps in the book at that point as well, you'd have about 70 litres or so in the car, so there's a 40-litre fuel drop that he's just done. It will be about another 25 to 30 litres that he'll have to add to the car throughout the remainder of the night. As we'll start to go hunting up and down the field, we're going to focus in a little bit on, I believe we've got Dan Hall on the screen at the moment. Chad Lewis, my apologies. Chad is having a phenomenal night. Qualified real high in 6th spot. He's obviously grabbed that spot off of Matt van der Kraan on that opening lap, man. But hey, you take these when they present themselves.
Yep, absolutely. You never knock a good start, and that's the perfect way to set yourself up with a race. Good qualifying and a good start. Got himself up inside the top, inside the top 5 at the moment. So you can see the lead group start to sort of skip away a little bit at the moment. So teams like Mark Quain at the moment, which is sort of just in front of them. Lap times aren't too far off. They're sort of sitting in the vicinity of about a 10th off the leaders. So leaders aren't running away too quickly, but you can see blinking into that a little bit. That's going to be a little bit distracting for Chad. But yeah, not obviously a bit early in the race. There's still plenty to go, but yeah, good start for Chad at this point.
How tricky is turn number 2, because it's realistically a double apex, whereby you're trying to point the car as straight as possible at the first apex, and then you don't know that you're deep until the turn 2 sort of opens up and starts to turn back on itself again.
Surprisingly enough, once you get used to it, turn 1-2 is actually really easy. You got to basically use a certain brake point for turn 1. You sort of just coast the brake pedal in, you use a bit of the inside curve, and then once you straighten it up for turn 2, that's when you really put all your braking in. But then you sort of you swing out wide a little bit, take a late apex, and then just to swing around the corner, make it as wide as possible, try and straighten the car up and drive off. First, when you're learning it, it's pretty tricky to get your head around, but once you get into a bit of a rhythm, turn 1-2 is actually probably one of the easier parts of this track, surprisingly. So, but yeah, you're still going to be a little careful. It's very easy to pinch the front, and if you pinch the front, there's not a whole lot of room on the other side. You've got that grass just off the side of the track, and if you hit that grass, it just pulls you off. That grass is off camber, it'll just pull you off the track, and then you'll just tumble your way down the field. So, yeah, critically important to get the mid-corner right for 2. But coming in, you'll see, just braking into the corner, comes off the brake pedal, and that's when they'll stop. They'll get onto the pedal hard, pull it up, and just hug that inside curb. Wait for the corner to open up a bit. When that curb disappears, and then boom, you're on the throttle, and off you go.
I was actually just on board with David Kirby, just listening to his engine note and watching this battle up ahead. I can tell you Michael Quain is holding Chad Lewis up quite significantly. Kirby on the clutch. So fuel-saving games being deployed, and when you can't make that space up out on track, sometimes you've got to do it in a different shape or form, Mez, and on the clutch, there's a lot of people that are like, it's just car racing, you just got to go as hard and as fast as you possibly can, but there's a real art of knowing when to do that.
Absolutely. Luckily enough, a lot of my stuff I did was endurance racing, so very quickly learned about when is the time to fight. Yeah, sometimes in these situations, like, you're right. The sort of mentality is, you fight for your position, but sometimes, yeah, absolutely, sitting behind, use the clutch. A lot of people have different methods of fuel saving. The clutch method is something I can't get my head around. So bravo if you can actually do it. But yeah, sometimes it's just thinking long term, thinking longer term in that race. You know, you save a bit of fuel, bit less time in the fuel stop. Oh, we got Matt Vandercroft off the track at the moment. So Knight going from bad to worse. Now he's got cars. I think that's Jamie McKnight at the moment. Looking at the rear bumper. Is he going to have enough of overlap by the time they get to turn 1 to have a look? No, it looks like Jamie's going to stay in behind. But yeah, that's 4 more spots. We'll have to see a what actually happened.
Jamie McKnight nearly hit the bumper of Matt Vanderkraan under the initial braking, and he'll break loose under power as well. So Matt Vanderkraan out of rhythm out of the start. He's trying to settle himself back and in, and then a mistake. It just looks like that. The smoke in the background, that just screams lock up to me.
Yeah, see him come through. Looks all good for there, but yeah, what you're about to see. Oh, caught the grass. That right rear would have just caught the grass. It's not hard to do at all, that part of the track, and that's it. Got off the track and just come back on right in front of Jamie. Jamie's had to pull it up a little bit actually too. You saw the puff of smoke from Jamie's inside tyre, so that re-entry had made Jamie to have a bit of a check-up as well.
And I tell you, he is harassing and haranguing Matt Vanderkraan at the moment. Vanderkraan is definitely a cork in the bottle. Tyre temperatures through the roof. He's got to settle that back down. Oh, another big moment. On the curbs. Now he's back out near the grass again. He was millimetres from the same mistake 2 laps in a row. And there's a brake pinch up ahead of these guys. Daniel Hall is starting to harass Damien Cairns as well. So just because we've gone to Germany, just because it might be a vacation to summer Europe, on the transition to winter, these boys are absolutely throwing it out here on a holiday.
Yeah, starting to pick up the tempo a bit, a little mistake there. And the flow-on effect too is once you have an incident like that where you've got the rear sideways and you heat the tyres up too much, they take a long time to come back. And where you saw situations where Matt was coming off the corner still getting the car sideways, that's not cooling the tyre down at all. It is going to be screaming for a couple of laps before you actually get them to come back under control, which, yeah, you've got to underdrive it a bit, which means Jamie can sit on the back of him and harass. And that's when you want to make your move, when they're struggling with their rear tyres. That's when you jump on them and try and make that position.
Should we keep an eye back up a little bit further as well? Because I'm interested in the battle between Chad Lewis and Michael Quain. We've got that battle that's on the screen at the moment. Never mind, let's not take our eyes off this one, because they are all over it. The driver's struggling with the tyres here tonight, Mez. And it's only early. We're on the 10th lap of the race. They've got to get to around, they've got at least another 8 laps in this, but then they've got to do a massive second stint.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit surprised. Look at the track temp. Track's only about 21 degrees at the moment. Obviously not sure, fixed setup league, so not sure what they've actually done with the setup there, but yeah, it's not a hot track, and from the testing that I've sort of done and the running at Scops and everything else, the tyres don't burn off that quick. You know, they're at lap 10 at the moment. Like I was seeing sort of lap 15 onwards, that's when you start to notice the rears would start going away. So yeah, surprising to see so many drivers really having issues with the rear of the car at the moment. They're just trying to keep it under control, especially on throttle coming off the corner. The rear just does not want to sit still at the moment. It wants to move around, which makes it very hard to try and maintain rear tyre temp.
So that's the battle between Damien Cairns and Dan Hall. We might shoot forward now and have a look at Lewis and Quain, because that is closing up again. They just jumped on board last lap. They sort of gapped apart a little bit. It'd be interesting to have a look, because obviously drivers drive this track a little bit differently. Lewis hooks in a little bit earlier there at turn 10, but he is right at that rear wing. You get the feeling that he's like, come on, I want to get on with my race. I want to get on and see if I can actually try and snatch a podium from Michael Stewart here.
Yeah. So doing a good job at the moment, just sort of tucking behind. He's getting close to the rear bumper, and he's just trying to get the car off the corner. He's got the pace on the brakes. You can see how much he closes up under brakes. So he's got the confidence to really send it, but it's coming off the corner at the moment. That's where he needs to maintain that gap. And it's a question of whether he's maybe pushing it a little bit too hard into the corner. See, heading into turn 1 at the moment. Michael's doing a very good job from what we were sort of seeing with the rear tyres being an issue. You can see that car is very, very stable. He's not working it too hard on corner exit. Chad's pretty close to it. He's probably one of the closest I've seen him so far. So nice wide corner. If you can stay right on the rear bumper, this is where you start setting up. Well, have a look for the inside. unless you're right alongside. I don't think that's going to work, but this is where you start to set up. This is setting you up for turn 10. You want to try and keep as close as possible through this complex of corners, and you want to get to turn 10. You want to be right on their rear bumper, so that when you come off that corner, you can try and get the run down into turn 11, try and get the pass done there.
He's getting closer again. He's hooking, he's getting to the inside at turn 10, a lot better. That time, he will use a lot more of the runoff from Chad Lewis. He's positioned better at the entry to turn 10, but Michael Quain's drive off of 10, he takes that later entry line, Mez, and he's just getting so much better of a corner exit angle, back to the power earlier. That's the critical factor.
Yep, exactly. And that's a hard thing to do, is when you're behind someone, your natural thing is to want to push a little bit harder, try and get close to them as you can. And that actually makes it worse when you can see the gaps pushed out. Then you can see it was through turn 13. He just ran that little bit wide, didn't quite make the apex as nicely, and that just pushed the gap out. And Michael Quain, this is where he's doing a good job at the moment. He's squaring the car off like he's doing there. Get on the throttle, and it gets a good release off the corner. But Chad's actually come off the corner really well here as well. He's having a bit of a look. Not quite close enough to go down the inside, but he's definitely hustling. He's got the pace at the moment. He's just got to try and line this pass up and get it done.
Is this Mez where you perhaps go, okay, so look, he's a little bit wider here at entry to 4, 5, he's offline now, down the run through to 6, into 7. It's a different line. I was just about to say, do you start searching around now? You've been here for a number of laps and the cars ahead are really disappearing up to the road. Do you try and look for maybe just a touch of a bit of different exit line, different entry line? And we're sort of seeing that at the moment. Or do you think these are just out and out micro mistakes?
Yeah, that last lap I think was a little bit of a mistake. You don't run that wide there. It's not going to gain you any time. Where you're sort of saying where you want to look for different lines is probably more like here. You know, trying to stay sort of a little bit wider, have a tighter line, try and square the corner off a bit more so you can get drive off the corner, like what Quain's doing. He just slowed it up a little bit and got the thing to drive off the corner. That's the sort of stuff you want to look as you go through McDonald. Maybe try and swing the car a little bit further to the left so you can get the car to sort of get the car rotated a bit more and to give you a bit more acceleration off the corner. That's the sort of stuff where you want to look at changing your lines up. But yeah, there's from what we're seeing sort of at the moment, when Chad falls off the back, it's those little tiny mistakes, you know, just not hitting the apex or not coming off the corner right. That seems to be what's happening at the moment. Oh, got forward there with David Kirby. You got the thing right sideways out of turn 3. So try to limit those mistakes will also be important as well for those rear tyres.
And what do you reckon? Dave Kirby's got a popcorn machine on board? Just keeps reaching over, getting some fresh popcorn, drizzles some butter on it. He's enjoying this battle. He's enjoying watching these two guys. And he's saving a little bit of fuel at the same time. So all aboard the Kirby's convenience stand for your latest and snack foods and watching the battle ahead.
Yeah, no, you've lost me with that one. But anyways, I don't even know what we're doing now. Jeez, that's got me.
Racing, Mez. Racing. That's what we're doing out here.
Oh man, I know. I'm gonna have to get used to you. This is yeah. Oh man, no, that actually jam. Anyways, right, back to business.
I'm really unsettled here.
You've done to me. That's just, yeah, that came out of left field.
Obviously, in the meantime, he's chilling out in the background. He's watching this as well. His championship won't be too heavily concerned about this. This will be a nice, consistent finish, but he can't afford to let anyone else disappear up the road. The cars that are relevant, maybe Michael Stewart's the first of them, Craig Friend's in and around where he is, Chris Miller. So he's in contention. He's not letting anyone really disappear up the road, and that's quite critical.
Yep. Staying behind him, tucked in. Oh, a lot of curb being used. That's a lot of curb being used in this section here. So it seems that maybe that's sort of partially what's going on, is he hasn't quite got the turn. And that's why he's using a lot of the inside curb very well wide. That's not going to help either. You can see Chad is all over the back of it at this point. It's starting to become a bit more of a hassle for Michael Quaid. Interesting if, like just picked up there before, using a lot of that curb, whether or not he's actually struggling with the front of the car. Maybe that's why he's sort of having to slow the car up a lot. He actually missed the apex by a little bit there as well. We just saw from the onboard. So Yeah, Michael's having a little bit of issues now trying to get that thing actually put in for the corner, and that's where Chad's really good at the moment. He's getting that thing to the apex a bit better. It's coming off the corner that Chad, you can see Chad not really utilizing all the apex to come off there. And that's sort of where the difference is at the moment. Chad's really good at getting into the corner. He's just got to try and get off the corner a little bit better at the moment and try and gain some time where you can see Michael is definitely struggling a little bit with the front end.
I think they're really driving the car differently. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, Des, because if you have a look at Quain, there's a lot of... You said squaring it off earlier. There's a little bit of that in sections of the lap, but in that back section of the lap, he's actually sending it a lot deeper, whereas Chad's rotating the car nice and smoothly, a lot of mid-corner speed. He has taken quite a number of different lines through 4, 5, 6, and then down into 7, and that's where he's really, really strong. But 7's just not an overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, that's it. And like we just saw, then he's had to slow the car really up a lot to get it to turn to the corner. Like, I get what you're saying, and a few laps ago, 100% I would have agreed with you, but I think the front tyres are just starting to fall away for him, and that's why you're seeing him really try and slow the car up in the mid-corner, try and get the car turned. It just, for me, it just doesn't appear like it's just doing what he wants to at the moment. It's still doing nice. He's still getting off the corner really nice. You can see he's pushing that gap out just a little bit coming off the corner, but it's just not doing as nice of a job as what it was a couple of laps ago.
Right, so pit window for fuel has now opened. You can get in anytime from this lap, and you will be able to get in, pit, and get out. Van der Kraan in the meantime deep in the pack because he comes around the second to last corner. Oh, that is actually out into the start-finish straight. He has dropped a number of spots yet again and continues to go backwards. Gets through the second last corner. That might be that's a slowdown penalty.
Yep, 100%. 100%. You won't. Yeah, whoop. Oh, and to get out of everyone's way is, yep, good job. If you've got a slowdown, you don't want to sit on the apex, so got out of people's way. But yeah, if you slow down that much, that definitely feels like a bit of a slowdown. But just sort of turning our eyes back to the battle up front, I just noticed in sort of the last little bit of the lap, David Kirby's actually closed right up on this battle as well. He actually started having a little bit of a look at Chad Lewis into turn 1, so this battle's evolving very, very quickly. Now Kirby's being brought into this one. He's got a little bit of pace as well. Be interesting to see. We've got the cars behind you. We've got Craig Fred, Chris Miller as well sitting in the background. So yeah, we can see the last lap times on screen at the moment. So 25.6 for Kuwait, then you got 25.9 for Chad, 25.7 for David Kirby, Craig Friend with a 25.5, a 25.4 for Chris Miller, so 25.4 again for Nitschke. So this race is starting to evolve a little bit. And a bit of the cork in the bottle is starting to appear with Quaid and Lewis actually times dropping off a little bit. It's going to drag the rest of this field into this battle.
Oh, a big lock-up from Tyburn up ahead. That was actually a lapped car that made that lock-up. There was a huge cloud of smoke going out into turn number 1. Was Tyburn the lapped car? He's now got responsibility to these guys to allow them to crack on with their race, given that his nice has not transitioned the way he would have liked. But not for another lap or so yet as these guys start to close back up and in.
Yeah, Kirby, you notice Kirby as well had a little bit of a look just as they went into turn 3. Just poke the nose out a little bit. Just let Chad know that, oh, Chad's closing right up on the rear. This is going to ebb and flow for a little bit at the moment. So Chad just obviously going to have Kirby behind. It's going to be looking for it. He's got a really good run off the quarter too. It's probably not quite close enough to have a look, but Kirby's doing a really good job at the moment. He's just hanging on the back of these guys, just waiting. I think at this point, he's just waiting for something to happen. He's clearly got the pace at the moment. The lap times are starting to show it. He's getting all over the back of these two in front. But yeah, I think he's probably just sitting here waiting for the opportunity to come up. Probably doesn't need to have a dive as yet. Try and get the move done. Just wait and see what these two do, because they're both really struggling. You see them coming off the corner. The cars are moving all over the shop. They're really struggling with these things at the moment.
Oh, shows the nose again, but it's just a show. It's just to let him know that you're here, and he can roll off the brake and cake all that margin back up down into 1 and 2. Look at the margin between these cars. You could not fit another race car in there. You could not fit nearly a bicycle down the middle. as they get down on the end there. And now Tyburn, huge lock up in front of these guys as well. This could be critical. Sometimes you got to use a lapped car as a pick. Tyburn says, yep, I will not be that pick.
Good job by Ty, just to sort of see what was going to happen there and just got out of it. You don't want to be that lap car in front of this battle at the moment. You can see Chad closing up again. It's what I'm sort of saying. It's just that mid corner of the car is just not turning the way you'd like, the way it was before. And this is just allowing Chad to just climb up on the rear bumper as well. But Kirby's coming off the corner really, really well. Straight thought. Yeah, Kirby came off that corner really, really well at 10, and that's where I think Chad's having an issue. He's overdriving the car that little bit too much into 10, trying to get to the back, and that's what I'm sort of saying, where if you overdrive the car to try and get on the back of the guy in front, it compromises your line off the corner, and that's what's happening, because look how quickly Chad is able to close up on the back, but you watch him out of turn 10, that gap will open up again. So I think Chad is just pushing it that little bit too hard in there, and that's what's sort of preventing him from having a chance to go for a run at 10.
Is it just me, or is Craig Friend and Chris Miller swap spots? I thought Miller was ahead of Friend a couple laps ago.
No.
Okay, no? It's just me. I am going crazy. All right, no worries. I'll chalk that one up to my wife. She says I've been going crazy for a long time, so she's finally right.
Almost 10 years, and she confirms I'm also going crazy. So yeah, well, we're both nuts according to our partners. Very good.
It makes it great entertainment at the commentary booth. You know, can't be a good commentator if you're not half crazy. They say.
Anyways, looking at the battle at front at the moment, we've got Craig Friend on screen, who's obviously just behind this little battle at the moment, and he's sort of just been sitting there at the moment. That last lap he was actually about 2/10 faster than Quain and Chad Lewis. So again, he's just sitting there. You can see Kirby having a look. Kirby's just trying to make Chad Lewis that little bit nervous. Just keep sticking the nose out. It's not much. Like, you wouldn't think sticking your nose out like that's actually doing too much, but every time you move, especially if you're someone that's on like triple screens and everything else, and you're sort of paying attention to that mirror, as soon as you see that car moving behind you, it's hard not to at least have a little bit of a look. And it's just enough sometimes to unsettle the guy in front of you. You can see Kirby came off that corner so well. His traction off the corner is, compared to the two guys in front, he is doing a fantastic job getting this thing off the corner. But yeah, it's a bit hard when you've got the car in front that's trying to get past the car in front of them. Yeah, tricky. So, but he's doing a good job. Just get right up on the rear bumper. The car's coming nice off the corner. He's not working the rears too hard at all. He's just gently pulling it,
Whoa,
off the corner.
You had to say that, didn't you, Maz?
No, but he went and threw it away, but that's fine. But yeah, doing a really, really good job just sitting it behind him.
Yeah. I tell you what, we are only 7 laps away from, or even less, we're actually about 6 laps away from the halfway mark. Todd Duggan, we're just hearing, had something happen in the last lap or so. This might be an unforced error. Issue all of his own, so he can join the Matt Vanderkraan club tonight. Yep, unforced error. Great save. Yep.
Yeah, very good save. That's very easily go to the inside wall. I know how it feels because I made that exact same mistake on the last weekend. So, yeah, very, very easy to do if you just get on that throttle a little bit too much, especially sort of this late in the stint. But yeah, didn't hit the wall, didn't make contact with anyone. So you look at those incidents, you think, you know what, I got away with that one because I can keep on racing. And obviously still in this little battle pack at the moment, didn't lose too much time out of it. So yeah, we'll take those ones in those situations.
Who's going to pull the trigger? Because we are sitting on the cusp. We're just a couple laps shy of the halfway mark. They said that tyres were going to be the big story in this one. It's time to pull that trigger though, Mez. These guys are quicker. Quain is just holding them up, destroying the opportunity of a podium for these guys. Are they just that concerned about a safety car?
At this point, we haven't seen a safety car yet. I'm not sure whether we'll see one anytime soon, although we'll probably jinx it knowing our luck. But I think in this situation, I think Quain has to be the one to pull the trigger first. If he's obviously holding them up at the moment, it could work two ways. You could go first, get the fresh tyres, but if you don't have the pace to make those tyres work, you can sometimes give the advantage to the guys behind you, give them a bit of clear air. You see Kirby again coming off turn 10. He just has so much full pace.
But
then
now,
Chad Lewis can't get close enough.
That's forced a mistake. Lewis was wide. Now Kirby's right there on the real bumper. It forces the block. He's going to go tight now, Lewis. Kirby's all over him, just about roughing him up. It's not done yet. Kirby at the last corner. Down the inside. Lewis will get the drive off. And Michael Quain says, thanks, boys. I needed a breather.
Yeah, that's perfect for Quain. And yeah, Kirby just had a bit of a look, but just could not quite carry the momentum into the corner. But yeah, just as we were sort of talking about it, yeah, just looking for that opportunity, keeping that pressure on, and that mistake definitely emerged, and the opportunity was there to take that spot. Now we can see Dan Hall into the pits at the moment, the first person to take a pit stop. So it'll be interesting to see where Hall comes out. But,
13th he pit out of or so? 12th, there you go. Yeah, there was a gap right in about 12th where a lot of the cars are sort of single filed out with about a second, 3/4 of a second between them all. And that was the gap that's now opened up in terms of track map. One driver we sort of talk about, we did manage to catch the back end of Darren Lobb's qualifying performance, has driven from the rear of the field without a qualifying lap. I believe he's in, what, P19 at the moment? Yeah, so he is quietly having a great night. The pace we would expect out of him, he should be a lot further forward, and he'll be a little bit disappointed with that drive in qualifying. But hey, it's created an exciting race for him.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned that, because I do remember from practice session there was an incident with Darren, and it raised the question of whether or not it was maybe a mechanical issue or a hardware issue, because it was very odd. The car sort of had an off that just wasn't sort of normal. So yeah, now that we've sort of seen that it was down the back for that race, it made me wonder if there was a hardware issue that he got fixed just before the start of the race. So yeah, like one of those things we always see in real life racing is when, you know, mechanical problems happen, it puts you on the back foot or you're down the back of the field. Yeah, interesting to see that happen in the sim as well. And yeah, fantastic drive to come all the way back to 19th, and we're not even halfway through the race yet. So still definitely potential to get himself back into the top 10 with the current pace he's setting.
Yeah, I think the critical thing for him will be jump in, get that stop done, and use some of that clear air. Look at where Dan Hall's come out on track here, Mez. He is about a corner and a half a straight ahead of the leader. Very, very tight. So anyone in behind him cannot afford to come to the lane early. If you were 5 seconds behind Dan Hall prior to Dan Hall pitting, well, that's it. You got to stick it out to the end of the fuel stint. You got to wait for our race leaders to pit. Anyone ahead of him, they've got to come now. That window is just going to disappear.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. If I was that group of Quaid and Chad Lewis as well, yeah, that pit lane would be something I'd be looking at the moment. Interesting enough, that gap has spread out quite a bit, so they're not all over the back of each other anymore, and none of them are making a look for pit lane. This is interesting. I would have thought by about now, because we looked at like 27 was the lap that we were looking as your last chance to get home.
27, 28, yeah.
27, 28. Well, they're about to start, well, they've just completed 24 laps. I would have thought that this would be the opportunity to make that undercut, because usually if you're going to undercut, you're going to do a couple of laps before you would sort of run out of tyre or run out of fuel or tyre. So I would have thought that we would have big sideways coming out of turn 2. I would have thought we would have started to see some pit stops happening.
Chad Lewis has just done the same, by the way. I think these cars are starting to respond to the lower fuel. So whether or not there's a worry and a question mark over the rubber at the back end of the tyre stint, when the car's lowest on fuel, the least weight in that rear end, I tell you what, it is starting to remind me of Ferrari GT3 days. That thing has a really, really wiggly rear end when it's low on fuel. Take away the traction control, add a fair bit more horsepower, take away some of the downforce. That adds to the trickiness of the task in front of our drivers. Jeff Thomas now to the lane, and I get the feeling he's going to re-emerge right in front of Dan Hall. That's Dan Hall on the left-hand side of the picture. So new effective pit stop leader, albeit not going to be the leader of the race when everything shuffles itself out. But both of these guys are trying for it, and he's pit on the perfect lap. If he'd left it another lap, Dan Hall would have gone straight by.
Yep. So pitted to obviously cover off that position and done a good job. Fronts obviously not doing what he wanted that time round, but he should be able to get the maximum amount of tyres. Obviously Dan Hall is currently, if I quickly pull it up, he's He's
28th, and Jeff Thomas is 27th.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm looking for stint. So just over two and a half laps now. So he's got 2 laps older tyres. This is when they start to sort of come off their peak. So this is the opportunity for Jeff Thomas to take advantage of the tyre and keep going.
Never mind, Jeff Thomas actually pitted from behind probably Dan Hall. If that's 7 litres difference, that's nearly 3 laps of fuel estimated taken. Just based upon their static times. Well, I can tell you, Dave Kirby's still saving fuel in that battle pack, so he's been pressing on when there's been an opportunity to do so. We are on the 26th circuit, so our estimations say that 2 laps more of fuel at full tilt. And I get the feeling Scott Gamble, John Latham, Michael Stewart, all 3 of those drivers would have been at full tilt because they've got the air to do so. It's everyone else that's a question mark over. Quain, maybe the pace hasn't necessarily been great, but I don't know how much further. He's definitely been pressing on.
Yeah, absolutely. We're watching at the moment. No, they're still not taken to the lane. This is so interesting. We're about to cross over to 27. I just would have thought that one of them would have taken the shot now and gone for that pit lane, try and use that new tyre advantage, but it just hasn't happened. So you can see a lot of cars exiting pit lane at the moment. There's a lot of cars that are starting to take pit stops. So obviously Jeff Thomas at the moment is our first of the drivers that have pit. Damon Cairns just coming out of pit lane as well. He'll slip into that little battle pack as well with Dan Hall. But yeah, Jason Fuens also into the pit lane as well. So yeah, pits are starting to open up, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. I would have thought that one of them would have at least taken a chance now to go for the pits, but either this lap or next lap, I'd say it has to be the next 2 laps that they have to pit at this point.
It's a lot of pressure to be putting on that. Oh, somebody's going to dive. Somebody is absolutely going to pull out of this chain on this lap. Who's it going to be? Fuens, like you said, in. Cairns is in. Cairns, Thomas, Hall, all locked sort of together. Hall's now started to fall off the back end of those guys as well. Cairns will want to get an overtake done on Jeff Thomas on that fresher rubber. This is the battle pack. Right, who's going to pit? Who's your money on? The 57 leads the way in 4th position in this little chain. Somebody will peel off. There is no way that everyone continues on. It's going to be 2. All 3 of them in. All 3 of them in. Kirby's going to jump these guys on the stop. You watch this. Guarantee you he's got a lot less fuel to add.
Yep, absolutely. I heard the call that the leader was pitting, which was Scott Gamble. You can see in pit lane at the moment, and all 3 of them went with it as well. So this will be interesting. This will be how good of a pit stop that you can get. Obviously, you're right. Kirby's going to be the one that's interesting because we obviously saw a lot of fuel saving behind this pack at the moment. Just trying to line their pit boxes up. It's so hard when you've got so many cars in front of you to try and nail your pit box. But they've all done a really good job. Kirby was actually probably one of the better ones up. But this will be interesting. Let's see. Does he actually come out in front?
Drivers that have continued on for the people watching along at home. Craig Friend, Jamie McKnight, Robert Crisdale, Darren Lobb, Stephen Kennedy, Robbie Griffiths. And that looks to be it. It looks to be the next car through. He's actually just coming by, and Scott Gamble will jump out ahead of them. So it'll be in behind. Halil Cesar will actually jump Scott Gamble.
Good. Kirby's going to pop out in front. Up, you've called it. I have to say, you have called it. Kirby has got the jump on all of them. The biggest loser out of that one was actually Michael Quaid. He's dropped behind Chad Lewis as well. So make sure to get your pit exit right, because very easy to get an unsafe pit exit. So make sure you don't hug that too much. But done a good job. And yeah, wow, they have gotten a massive gap on Michael Quain at the moment. And yeah, David Kirby, fantastic job to employ that fuel strategy and get the better pit stop.
Did get it done. Absolutely did get it done. So Jeff now down the inside. Michael Quain gets a little bit out of rhythm, and Chris Miller sniffs an opportunity, grabs a spot. That could be crucial.
Yeah, that was a fantastic move. That is hard to do. You want to be actually alongside them when you get there. In one of those high-speed corners, you don't want to be sort of having a dive there. You want to be there. And he absolutely was, and he took great advantage of it. Obviously, Quaid at the moment just sort of having issues. Obviously, pit stop didn't go that well and just couldn't quite get the car underneath him out of the box. Miller took advantage of that perfectly, and now you actually got Dan Hall on behind as well. Be interesting to see what Dan can do. On much older tyres, he goes for a look. Quaid is not able to get this car underneath him because the gap's already starting to plunge out. Quay's having a real issue trying to get the car underneath him after that pit stop.
Yeah, just get the car pulled up. So maybe you were right. Dan Hall's grabbed a bunch of spots. Craig Friend is actually going to feed back out ahead of them all. Craig Friend has grabbed a bunch of positions, though. He's just ahead of Jeff Thomas. I was about to say, Jeff Thomas, in the meantime, has taken a very, very risky fuel strategy. Was the first in this group to pit. Has added next to nothing to that fuel tank compared to everyone else. He has got a big ass to get this car home. Damien Cairns has grabbed spots as well. So the strategy cars in Germany, when we trip over to Germany, you think Nürburgring? No. The show starts here at Oschersleben.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm having a look at that now. That's actually incredible. The fact that obviously we're still in that battle pack, so he wasn't too far off those guys. But the fact that, yeah, he's come out so close. Now he's got Jeff Thomas behind, which I think Jeff was already behind Craig before the pit stops. But even then, to pop out where they did so close to this battle in front, that's an incredible bit of work. We knew he was there sitting in the background, but done a fantastic job with strategy to definitely drag himself in this one. Now he's got a tyre advantage as well. It's only about a lap, but a 1 lap tyre advantage can make a big difference later on in this stint, and these guys have a long way to go before the end of this race.
Yeah, and we saw tyres being a big factor at the tail end of that stint. Wiggly V8 supercars, sliding left, sliding right, trying to get that power down. It was an absolute nightmare as the stint wore on. Scott Gamble's pitted. Everyone in the field has now pitted. The last two was, I believe, Hallel Cesar and Jamie McKnight. Both of them have now come to the pits on this lap. Have a look at the pit stop margins. This is the amount of time these drivers spent static in the box. Gamble, a long way out front, had some room to go with, so probably just went, you know what, we'll add a splash more extra fuel. That's generally what you do as a leader. When you go, I'm a little bit comfortable here, let's not take a risk on the fuel.
Yeah, no, especially with these cars, they're not, with fuel loads, they're probably not as sort of dependent on it as what GT cars are. GT cars, you want to take the absolute minimum amount of fuel because the little bit of extra fuel you've got in the tank can make a bit of a difference. These cars not so much. Some cases, having a bit more fuel in the back of the car will actually help them handle better. So you can help look after that rear tyre. So absolutely, if you can afford to take a little bit of extra fuel, definitely do it because it can pay dividends in the long run.
Well, they'll settle no changes at the front. Gamble, Latham, Stewart. It's the next spots that start to change up quite dramatically. Dave Kirby, have a look at that pit lane time. Was 1 second faster than Chad Lewis. Craig Friend matched him through pit lane. Jeff Thomas, 29 seconds faster again. Let's have a look back down to Michael Quain, 31.8. So if you're Jeff Thomas, you gained 2.8 seconds just in static time alone. Everyone else a little bit less than that, 2.5, a little bit either side of that. So that's how much leading that pack really cost Michael Quain. Needed to drill that fuel number home. Did not hit his number, I don't think. He was punching such a big hole in that air. And that's what she looks like. So game now changes a little bit for Michael Stewart. He's had it all his own way. Really relaxing first half of this race. But this second half, all of a sudden those times behind him are going to start coming at him quite quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So got this little battle on screen with Kirby. And yeah, interesting to see that Chad Lewis is now all over the back of him as well. Look at Kirby just sort of not getting the car off the corner. Yeah, interesting to see actually what Chad can do. And he's got off the corner really well there. Kirby's going to be looking in the mirror for that one. Is he going to have a look? He does stick the nose out a little bit, but don't think it quite close enough to go for a move there. Just tucks back in behind and try and get a good run off this corner. This will actually help set you up for a run into the final corner. The final corner you can launch a bit of a move. Needs to get a little bit closer, but Kirby, no! I thought that was it. I thought that was going to be a move. Kirby's had to shallow the corner up a little bit more, but he has still managed to get the drive off it. This is going to get very interesting. The new tyres has given Chad a new breath of life. He's going to try and have a go at this one. This is up for 4th place. You can see down the road, you know, Michael Stewart, John Latham, they're off into the distance, but 4th place, still definitely a good spot to play for. And Chad's going to have a good run at this one at the moment.
And 25.389 last time by for David Kirby. Michael Stewart just on that couple lap fresher tyres. No, that was same lap. Sorry, my apologies. 24.975. So just the covering and looking in that rear view mirror, it's cost him 0.4 of a second to Michael Stewart. Now, what's he got this time by? I get the feeling, because it's nearly It's one of the most impossible things in the world when you've got a battle like this on your hands to sort of look away, but we've got to look away. We've got to look up and down the field. Jeff Thomas, he's managing to hang with Craig Friend, so he's doing quite well on tyre life at the moment. Let's have a look a little bit further back. Quain has dropped significantly, 2.5 seconds off the rear bumper of Chris Miller. That's the margin that we're talking about, and that's the difference. Now it's Dan Hall's job to try and set him up and line him up. This is the widest Ford Mustang I think we've seen this season.
Yeah, very wide.
Oh, hang on.
Did a fantastic job in the first stint. Oh.
I can tell you, Dave Kirby made a huge mistake at 11 and 12 again this lap, and now he got really pressured. They were actually side by side coming to the second last corner. Lewis had just got the overlap. Now he's crawling all over him. This is where I'd say, all right, I'm going to throw a fake, I'm going to dip, I'm going to dive, I'm just going to fill that mirror. That's not really an overtaking opportunity. Puts you on the outside for turn number 2, Mez. And Chad Lewis goes from, this block of Kirby. Lewis is down the inside and becomes tighter on the exit. And Kirby just squeezed him enough. Lewis will be a little bit unhappy with that, but that's racing, boys. Crack on.
Yeah, absolutely. And just sort of noticed from our producer just posting in the chat that this is an interesting question. I'm just going on board to sort of have a bit of a listen. Is Kirby actually fuel saving this thing? Has he not only saved fuel, but then actually under-fueled? That's the question that's just sort of popping up in my head at the moment, which would kind of make sense why Chad's all over the back of him as much as he is at the moment, because Kirby's got pace. Kirby is a very, very quick driver. Wouldn't think that he'd be under so much pressure from Chad this early on in the stint.
Yeah, well, Lewis had pace. Kirby spent the whole race fuel saving. He's in a little bit of a hole, so we're going to have to listen on board. We're thinking there's a margin in this tank. And the other side of this equation is if we think that Dave Kirby's going to save some fuel, have a thought for Jeff Thomas. He's taken even less.
Absolutely, and yes, going into turn 11, there was a big lift from David Kirby. He's 100% saving fuel at the moment. So not only did he save fuel in that first stint, he's actually saving at the moment. Yeah, big clutch into turn 1. 100%, definitely saving fuel. That is why he got such a big jump in the pit stop. I thought that would have come naturally from the fuel saving he was doing. He obviously needed to save a little bit more to get the jump, and now Chad's obviously got the fuel to burn. He could go hard all the way to the end of this race. Now it becomes such a difficult thing where you've got to be able to try and get the car off the corner to manage the gap to the car behind, but as well as try and save as much fuel as you can going into the corners. This is such a delicate balance that you've got to try and find. If David Kirby can pull this off, considering the pace that Chad has at the moment, this is going to be a remarkable finish.
Yeah, and cast your mind back to Zolder this season, cast your mind even further back last season to Motegi. Those two races, there was one car that ran out of fuel. Those two times it was Michael Talyancic, not here tonight. And one of the biggest things that he said after both of those races was, I was too involved in the battle. I just could not hit my fuel number. And at Motegi, he ran out inside the finish line, coming out of the last corner. At Zolder, he never even made the line. Oh, here we go. Dan Hall's just gotten by. And that's Michael Quain continuing to drift. This presents an opportunity for Dan Hall now as well. Can he start to rescue some points late in this race?
Yeah, Dan Hall's pace since that pit stop, considering he pitted earlier, a lot earlier than this group that he's battling with at the moment, his pace has been remarkably good. He's holding onto those tyres very, very well. It could be interesting to see if he can actually keep this pace going. You've got Chris Miller in front, which I believe Chris Miller as well is another driver that's actually needing to save, because his pit stop was actually quite short as well. So there's going to be a bit of fuel saving happening there as well. So this is an opportunity for Dan Hall. If he's got the pace at the moment, he's making good use of it, he'll actually, could find himself jumping up a few more spots tonight.
And Nietzsche, after that pit cycle, has come out on the backside of Dan Hall. He was in the top 10. He was there and sitting in a really, really good spot. Dan Hall's going to have to do some more. Dan, can we just get that points graphic back up on screen again? If Dan Hall gets down here, gets after Chris Miller, and Miller needs to save, let's say Jeff Thomas runs out of fuel. That's 2 spots on the last lap. That battle gets even tighter. So that pass there for Dan Hall, critical to his opportunity to nab second in this championship. Look deeper. Van der Kraan is not getting a lot of points here tonight. Number of mistakes from him, which is unlike Matt Van der Kraan. He's in trouble there and may drift further down. Craig Friend has had a phenomenal last 2 races of the season. You feel for him. If he could have changed a couple of finishes earlier in the season together, he might be in a better spot.
Absolutely. It changed quite a bit. You can see actually now we've got the live positions as well. So Craig Friend, Chad Lewis bumping up across with John Latham having a fantastic run tonight in second place. He's going to gain a bunch of spots. Favell, actually a big loser out of this one, dropping 3 spots. Michael Stewart, again, you mentioned about confidence boosters, grabbing 5 spots in the final round of the championship, probably fall just outside the top 10. But to grab 5 spots in the final round of the championship, that's going to be a big confidence booster coming into next season.
Yeah, and I'm just starting to have a look. Where is Favell? He is currently in 22nd. So race isn't over yet. That could fall further. That might make it into the top 10 at the tail end. He's been quick. He's been consistent, actually. I've really enjoyed watching the evolution of Michael Stewart. We said last season, the ERT boys, and as Gamble said farewell to them, the big thing that he wanted to make known was not, hey, let's not talk about this championship. Let's actually talk about how well a job some of these drivers are alongside of. And the first one he mentioned was Chad Lewis. He said, this guy is driving out of his skin. He's improving. And we're seeing it on board this tonight. And he's had a good splash in the pan. I reckon next season is going to be a big one for Chad Lewis. And I think next season, bigger, will be a big one for Michael Stewart. Look at these drives. Mez, season 17 is going to be a banger.
I'm already looking forward to it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm still going to be here, unless Jay decides to kick me out. But knowing Jay, we don't know what happens.
Do you want to release that one to the fans then, ladies and gentlemen? We have an announcement regarding coverage for season 17.
I think I'll leave that one to you, buddy. You've got it covered.
Season number 17 of the V8 Veterans will be coming to you live once more from SimSpeed TV. We will be bringing you coverage for another season yet. And I tell you what, Mez, I don't know about you, but there's not much more that I want to do on a Thursday night other than sit and watch these guys race.
No, absolutely. I've only done a few rounds of this championship, but honestly, these guys, you know, got lots of competitive V8 series out there. And you see Chad Lewis all over the back of Kobe. We don't want to take too much focus away from this fight too much, but yeah, like there's a lot of competitive V8 series out there, but this is definitely one that's exciting to watch. So you know, I'm glad to be on board, and hopefully I'll be on board for next season as well, because yeah, keen to see how these guys, and we've got those stories now. We've got Michael Stewart, you know, big, obviously you've been following him, big developing as well. Chad Lewis, we're watching him at the moment, got tons of pace at the moment, but it's just trying to get the job done. John Latham on the return has done a fantastic job tonight as well. You can see closing up Chad Lewis all over the back. So heading into next season, it's going to be really good to see these guys go at it again and go after that championship. Kirby just a little bit sideways off the curb there as well. Chad not quite able to range up on the back, but just biding his time at the moment. And this is the sort of thing, you know, you're not, obviously, Michael's just a bit further down the road. You're not really going to be able to chase after him, not this late in the race. So this is an opportunity where, you know, you can sort of back off a little bit, preserve the tyres a little bit more, make your move later on in the race, where the tyres have sort of fallen off a little bit as well. And we saw last stint as well, Chad was very good once the tyres started to wear a little bit. He could reapply that pressure again. So that's what's going to be happening there, is just wait for a little bit longer and then reapply pressure to the Kirby and see what he can do.
Is that a new paint scheme from Jason Fewens? Because that looks really pretty. I want to get another shot of that if we can. Have a look at the side-on shot. No, it's the same paint as last week. That's right. He's still running the retro livery, I believe. But either way, it's very beautiful paint.
Apologies, I can't remember the team name again. But sort of as sort of doing a BAR. As I've been sort of doing paints, Banter Alliance Racing, thank you very much, Daniel, to save the day, not make me look a bit like silly. But I'm doing paints, actually doing the paint submissions for Scops. These guys stand out so well. I love looking at the paint job that these cars do. Don't see a lot of paint jobs that are very similar to it, and a lot of bright colours. So yeah, they're definitely on track. They're one of the paint jobs that I really admire. They look really good.
Every time we turn on Jason Fewens' camera, I'm just captivated by it. You can tell what's going on in his race just by what his eyes are doing, how it's all going, how much he leans in, how much he has a look. Look over to the right-hand side. That might be at some numbers. He might be checking something. Might be checking if there's a cat in the room. It's obviously not an opportune moment. Get away. There was no wave with the hand, though, so...
Yeah. Obviously not. The light hasn't popped up on the camera, so you can't see us watching him. But well, you can see he's not happy with what happened at the mid corner. That facial expression of that was not what I wanted it to do. Side note: it's always really interesting when you actually go back and watch these broadcasts, especially when you've got the in-car camera on you. The one thing I never knew I did until SimSpeed started doing in-car cameras is how much I wiggle in the seat when I'm racing. You'll just see me twitch just out of nowhere. Train will come up and all of a sudden I'm twitching in the seat trying to sort of settle myself back into it. It's the most peculiar thing, but yeah, like, I guess it'd be cool. It'd be cool. Yeah, thanks Daniel, that's going to make me sleep well tonight. Sorry, we're going back to the front of the field at the moment. We can see Chris Miller all over the back. Oh, sorry, Craig Franz dropped a couple of spots.
Yeah, so that's Damien Cairns grabbing one, and was that Jeff Thomas jumping on by? Yeah, I didn't believe it was. So the other thing I noticed on that last lap, the reason why I had a groan at a moment there, moment, I was on board with that moment. And I thought for sure we were going to see at least one wrecked race car. And no. Craig Friend gets pinched off a little bit. Oh, he pinched up the grass on the right-hand side of the road. So one driver gets out of his rhythm, one driver makes an upset mistake, and then everyone else sort of files on it. Quite common occurrence when the driver ahead of you makes a mistake.
Yeah. And that was actually... So where you were sort of talking about positioning the car a bit differently, that's what he was looking at. He saw that curve, Chad was a bit wide into that corner. So the first thing he thought, right, I'm going to get the car as wide as I can, drive it straight off turn 12. That's where he went a little bit wide, caught the grass, and that's where it all went downhill. So yeah, trying to position that car just a bit differently, and it's not hard for that to happen. If the car in front of you gets out of shape and you try and react to it and try and take advantage of it, sometimes, yeah, you're yourself a bit out of rhythm. The 43 running wide as well. Jeff Thomas, that was well wide of the apex there. So this is starting to pick up a little bit here. Chad's skipping away from this little battle pack at the moment, but interesting to see. Damien Cairns, another one, obviously picked up a lot of time in those pit stops. He came out right sort of close to this battle pack. Now he's going to be all over the back of Jeff Thomas. Just, yeah, very, very close battle. So, yeah, 1 second, 2 tenths now. You can see Craig Friend only 8 tenths back, 3 tenths back to Chris Miller. So this battle pack's definitely closing up a little bit. Damien Cairns, he's all over the back of him at the moment. Got really, really good pace aboard this machine right now. And just focus on getting the car turned, come off the corner. He's coming off the corner really, really well. Didn't lose too much time coming off the corner. So it'd be interesting to see. We're on lap 41, so we're looking roughly about, maths is bad for me, 13 laps left, 14 laps left in this race, 14 laps. So it'll be interesting to see if Damien Cairns can get another spot out of this one. If he could do it fairly quickly, Chad is not that far down the road, and so is Kirby.
Yeah, and I'm just starting to watch. I'm watching Chad Lewis's wheel work. I get the feeling the car is on the understeer side. It's on the very, very stable side because he's turning the wheels. So I'm hearing a lot of tyre scrub in the front end of that car. So wheel a little bit more than the car's turning. Look at it. It takes a long time for that front end to come in.
Yeah, that is a lot of luck, which is completely different to what we were seeing in the earlier stint. Like, compared to the cars he was around, he probably had the best rotation of all of them. He was getting that car to the apex, he was running it in hard, using that mid-corner momentum. Yeah, now it's kind of gone the opposite way. Now he's struggling, and Kirby's just skipping it away a little bit of time. We look at that last lap, it was a 25.361 for Kirby and a 25.337. So Chad's still in and about that same lap time. But yeah, you can sort of see really getting that thing turned at the moment. So, and yeah, just having a bit of a look now, you can see he's just sort of skipping away a little bit. It's only a tiny bit, but Kirby is definitely starting to squeeze this gap out a little tiny bit at a time.
You know how sometimes you look at people's paints and you go, oh, that's a pretty paint, and then the longer you look, you notice bits and pieces? I thought, let's have a look on from Jeff's. I want to see what Jeff's doing with his steering wheel. I've just gone back to Jeff Thomas's cockpit. I'm having a look at the rear bumper of Damien Cairns. You know what I just noticed? What does that say on the left-hand side? It says nail. On the right-hand side, there's a nice hammer in the middle. That's a great joke, Damien. That's probably been sitting there for a long time and nobody's noticed it. Well, we've just noticed it tonight.
It's always good when you put subtle little things. That's usually my favourite spot. If you're going to put a subtle message, that's exactly where you want to put it. A team, jeez, Daniel's got the zoom right on this one. So if you couldn't see it before, you can definitely see it now. So can confirm there is Nail It on the back of that car. And you can definitely tell from Jeff Thomas's point of view, yes, he definitely wants to nail it and get in front of Damien Cairns at the moment. So hopefully he's reading that and getting a bit of motivation from it.
There's stories like part of the culture of sim racing is the paint, and everyone's got little hidden details. Like you said, some of the paint really stand out, like the Banter Alliance racing paints. They really have that pop nature to them. I love the JDB. Oh, Jeff Thomas! Stop it! When I'm talking about how pretty a car is, don't make a mistake. That is the one commentary feature I ask for each and every week. Each and every week I'm let down.
I have to say it. Did Jeff Thomas nail it a little bit too much out of that corner?
See, okay. I've got a controversial theory. It's not actually the commentator's curse. It's anytime we go to talk about the drivers go, "Hey, look, Mum, I'm on camera." And it's actually the drivers that do it. It's nothing to do with the commentators, we swear. I was just saying, I love these cars from JWM between Travis and Jeff. They're phenomenal looking paints, but there's bits and pieces up and down there. I told a story actually to the guy who does my NASCAR truck paints earlier today about how I was in this league a little while back.
I'm breaking away for a minute. Michael Quain just got dropped by two cars. The car did not react at all into turn 12 and just got dropped by two cars. And there you can see Travis Hunt as well as all over the back bumper. This second stint has just not gone the way of Quain. We're going to lose another one as well. No, can't quite get there. But yes, this second stint from Quain, just not sure what's going on. That the pace was really good in the first stint. He was able to sort of hold Chad Lewis at bay and set reasonable lap times. This stint just has not come together at all for Michael.
Is it when you're out of a rhythm, it's really, really difficult to get back in, because he has not had, like you said, obviously come out of the pits and was harassed and harangued. I just get the feeling he never got into a rhythm. Because that opening 2 laps after the pit stops, he was just losing spots left, right and centre. And sometimes that just harasses, it changes the way that you drive the car. You're a little bit on edge. The nerves creep in just a little bit. You go, I'm out of sync. This will show the moment on board. So gets in here to the first curb, gets it settled nicely. It's the second curb. And it's out. No, he's got a slowdown. That's a slowdown penalty clear.
That's a slowdown.
Would be, and that's the second one we've seen so far tonight. That would be the 8, 9, 10 chicane. Out onto the back straight, because Jeff Thomas, it was earlier in the piece, I think it was, that did exactly the same thing. Todd Duggan, second moment of the night. This one he will not rescue.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yep, just caught it. But yeah. Oh well, if you're gonna do it once, might as well give it a second go and see how much better that one went. And obviously in that case, didn't go that much better. But yeah, interesting. As you sort of say, with trying to find a rhythm, and if things just haven't panned out, it is very hard to get that rhythm back. Something that I had to learn a lot, especially in my real world racing. When something would go wrong, the first thing I do is mentally just spit the dummy. And in sim, it's the same thing. It is the exact same thing. It's so hard mentally, if things go wrong, to get yourself back into it. And it might be a case here with Michael as well. It's just the pit stop didn't go well, lost a couple of spots coming out of the pits, and just has been falling backwards as the race has gone on. And when it keeps happening, when you keep losing spots, it just gets harder and harder and harder to try and pull yourself out of that and try and save the result.
Talking championship perspectives right now, 75% race distance reached with the fastest lap in the race, with the pole position. It's now going to be a 44th place. It's going to have to be, there's only 38 cars, I think, or 35 cars. In fact, there's actually less than that. So it's going to have to be multiple penalties now for Scott Gamble. And with no other cars inside on the track, I think this is just a leisurely cruise to the finish. You'll chill in. And it's such a big thing. You said it, Mez, getting yourself back into a rhythm. You don't see it sometimes from behind the cockpit of a car. Go-karts, you see a lot of it. Drivers would fake their head. It's a big thing in motocross. I used to do the same thing. I'd make a mistake. I'd shake the head quite aggressively. Let's get rid of that mistake. Shake it out. Get back into a rhythm.
Yeah. Dad used to say that about me all the time as well. He said, as soon as something went wrong and I started shaking my head, that's the moment that Dad said, yep, the race is gone. Because as soon as I started shaking my head, he knew exactly what was going on. The one day that I stopped doing it, stopped shaking my head when things went wrong, was the big day when mistakes happened, I was able to recover from them, or was able to recover the loss. So yeah, it's the exact same thing with the sim, you know. When mistakes happen, if the first thing you do is want to shake your head or get annoyed or anything else that you can watch by the way the car behaves in the sim as well, yeah, it just makes that a little bit harder to recover.
Well, it depends. Like, they talk about it in terms of psychology. Some drivers, some people will use it as a trigger mechanism to trigger that reset, but that's what it's going to be about. I'm triggering a reset. Triggering a reset like Chad Lewis has done to his race, and his response to Dave Kirby was crawling all over the back end of this car earlier on, made that mistake, he's recovered, he's back here again. The critical thing for me is I reckon Kirby's had enough time to gather enough of that tank back up. Whoa, never mind. That rear end is starting to wiggle around as well, and the other driver we've got to keep half an eye on, two of them in fact, is going to be Dan Hall and Jeff Thomas. They were the earliest drivers to come in and grab those fresh rubber, fresh set of tyres. How are their tyres starting to fare? We've seen mistakes from Jeff Thomas. We haven't watched Dan Hall all that much, but he's not staying, from Jeff Thomas's perspective, as close to Damien Kearns as he was. The tyres might have started to hit a little bit of a cliff, a little bit of a gap where they've fallen away fractionally. But it's this battle that we ride on board with now. It's been the most interesting one of the night. You get the feeling sometimes that Chad Lewis saw a bug on the rear end bumper of Dave Kirby's car, and he just wanted to come up, crushed it for you, got it, move on.
Don't think he'd want to crush it. You just want to say, hey, you got a bug, and then run away in front of him and just say, it could be the opposite way. You could say, oh, you got a spider on your back, and run away in the opposite direction. So, but yeah, just interesting what can do in this sort of situation. We'll watch him here. This is what I'm sort of trying to pick up on at the moment. The last sort of section of the track. Yeah, you can see this is where Chad makes all the time. He's closing right up on that rear bumper. Chad just seems, compared to the group that Chad's been around tonight, he just seems a lot more confident in the final sector of this track. That's where he seems to make a lot of his time as well. Turn 10 is starting to sort of see where that seems to be a bit of an Achilles for him. Because that turn 10 is where you're going to set you up for an opportunity right on the rear bumper. Turn 10 is going to set you up for an opportunity for a pass. And turn 10 just, for some reason, just has not been able to get that line together to try and force a passing opportunity up into turn 11.
Yeah, he's either too narrow on the entry or he's too far back to the left-hand side. He just doesn't need to be able to hit that middle lane, if you will, and really nail both aspects of the corner to be close enough to put the pressure down. And oh, Kirby's just made a mistake. There it is. They might present it. The rear end was out of shape. Lewis closes in. Oh, it's getting closer. We're running out of time. 7.5 laps left to run. This is the tail end of season 16. We're under 10 to go. Who's got something left in the tank? And I don't want to say his name, but that driver in P3 is starting to look quite hot. He's starting to look really good, and a downshift early again from Kirby. Now he is under assault. Here's Lewis, and Lewis has looked smooth the last lap or so. He's been right on it. Kirby's made 2 mistakes. His adrenaline would absolutely be rushing. Down to the last corner. Can he get it turned? They both short shift just a little bit to get that drive out of the exit. Not quite close enough. So he's coming. He's there. And we're starting to see the cracks in the Kirby armor.
Absolutely. That last turn seems to be where I think Chad Lewis's spot opportunity is going to come from. He's very wide there. He's carried that thing well off the corner. Chad's all over the back of him. He's tapping on the rear bumper. He's going to look for, there's got to be an opportunity here. You can see Kirby going straight defensive, and he's arced the corner up a little bit, but that's okay. He'll get the drive off the corner. That's fine. But yeah, you can see it's that last corner seems to be where I think Chad's opportunity is. Coming out of turn 10, we saw it that last lap too when we were riding on board with Kirby. Chad's just coming off that corner and the car's just drifting out that little bit too far wide, and he's not able to carry the pace off the corner. You can see Kirby just gets a little bit of a gap, just coming off the corner a bit better here, but Chad's really got to open. That was a better line, exactly. He's come off that corner. That was a lot better this time round. He's all up for the back bumper. If Kirby makes a mistake, the last corner, I think, is where Chad's going to make an opportunity to count.
And now a slightly different line from Lewis. And have a look at Damien Cairns, who starts to claw his way back into this. He's digging in. He's trying to find something. We go down to the last corner, and there will be 6 laps left in the season. We'll talk about our leader momentarily. Scott Gamble's done a phenomenal job all season long. He's locked it up just about. He's just going to make the end of the race. That's good enough at this point in time. John Latham's there in second. He'll celebrate this result. Michael Stewart, what a drive from Michael Stewart. It's been a long time since his last podium. A very, very long time. He will celebrate this one in all sorts of fashion. And then there's this battle. These guys have been tough to separate all night. Both of them have had pace at different stages. Both of them have looked like they should have gotten overtakes done. But it's Chad Lewis who has had a car glued to his front bonnet just about the entire race.
Absolutely. And still going to be glued there as they head through triple. And Damien Cairns, you mentioned him just poking up in the background. That last lap, he was 2/10 faster than that group. The lap before, he was actually 3/10 faster again. So Damien Cairns has been pulling time out of this group. Yes, they have. Oh, yep, this could be an opportunity for Chad. He's got a really good run off the corner. He's actually got the draft. Kirby's having to sit in the middle of the road to try and defend this. Oh, he's going to go outside. No! Just run.
He was wide, Chad Lewis. He was a mile wide, trying to get the opportunity done. The opportunity presented itself, and now Damien Cairns is out in the weeds. He was celebrating a strong night, and Jeff Thomas has just grabbed 2 spots. He's moved himself up. He was in 7th the last time by. Jeff Thomas to 5th. And it was Kirby. The mistake came not at the exit of the chicane. The mistake came at turn number 8 for Dave Kirby. That's what set it up. A chunk of sausage curb. And I think we're going to have to take this one back from that moment, right back at the beginning of it. Because there's turn 10. And that's Kirby, and that's Lewis. That's why he's so slow as they get down here. Have a look at the runoff of turn 7. Here's turn 8. Look at the sausage curve.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier. It's one mistake. That's all it's going to take. Kirby covered it. If he wanted the fake, he wanted to get down the right, he could have done, but Lewis was just so deep down here at turn 11.
Yeah, it was actually surprising. You could see he's trying to get the car back. Oh, I don't know if he knew it was there or not. That is so unfortunate. Damien saw the opportunity, and anyone would jump at the chance to try and make it work around the outside, but Chad just seemed to just come across a little bit too much, maybe not sure where exactly he was at that point in time. But yeah, that was it. That was opportunity. Kirby actually broke. Well, we're watching that live. Kirby broke fairly early because Chad got right up on the back of him. Just wondering if maybe going for the inside was probably a better option there for Chad in that situation. But either way, that's let Kirby off the hook. Now you've got Jeff Thomas behind him at the moment, but Jeff Thomas has much older tyres on board his rig at the moment, so I'm not sure if he's going to have the ability to really launch an attack at Kirby.
No, but now he's going to have to defend from Chad Lewis. This has been sent to the steward. And Damien Cairns, that was his drive-through penalty moment. Or he's got damage, one of the two. Because he did. It's incident point limits from Damien Cairns, which is going to make this one very difficult to redress. In fact, there won't be an opportunity for it to be redressed now. It's out of their hands. It will go to the stewards. And Wayne in the meantime.
Yeah,
Travis Hunt. He said, I've just tagged you, mate. I'm sorry. I'll wait. I'll redress it. I'll do what I can. Not what he wants to do. Oh, yeah. Chad Lewis has just made contact with Jeff Thomas as well. And Jeff Thomas is in the weeds. This has gone bananas. They've waited. Waited to the last possible moment, and then everyone has gone bonkers.
Yeah, we'll try to get a replay of that one. I'm just going back and had a real quick look myself. You can see, looking at this one, this will be Crane at the moment. We'll see what's going on here. Car has an accelerator, and then he's just, it's so easy to do. That was definitely not intentional. He didn't mean to get into the back bumper, but you could see that Crane's car was starting to slide. He just couldn't get the thing underneath him. But now we'll go back and have a look at this one with Jeff Thomas and Chad Lewis. Now you're going to see Chad, he's going to get up the inside, but just, That's going to be hard to pull apart. That one's going to be very difficult to pull apart. Chad was definitely up the inside there, but did he slide up into Jeff, or did Jeff crowd off the quarter? Race control's going to have a good look at that one, I think.
Oh, wow. This race has just self-combusted in the final few moments. The good news for David Kirby, if you are a Fishy Motorsports fan or you're a fan of David Kirby, he's actually a lovely guy, David Kirby. At the back end of this one, well, he's got breathing room now. He can save all the fuel he likes because he's got 2.8 seconds in behind him to Chad Lewis. The battle pack now is going to be Chris Miller, Craig Friend, and Chad Lewis. All the drivers with a C. Starting their first name. All three of those lined up on the track.
Yeah, so this will be the one we'll follow. Be interesting to see what we can do. Obviously on board with Friend at the moment. I'll just have a real quick look. Yeah, Friend was the last to pit out of this group, so pace should be pretty decent. But then he's going to have Miller behind him at the moment, who seems to be. He's got a bit of pressure on him at the moment, but just having a real quick look, because as we were sort of mentioning, we talking about points a bit. I just wanted to sort of see if Daniel could bring this up real quick. Dan Hall obviously involved in all this. Look at how some of these positions have had. Jeff Thomas, who was obviously up in 5th place. Look at that, he's dropping out 4th position. Chris Miller's going to gain a spot out of there, and this actually helps out Nitschke a bit as well in terms of points, so that'll help him seal his 2nd. Dan Hall doesn't seem like it's going to move too much for him, but that 4th and 5th position, because of all that happened, has completely changed that battle for 4th spin.
They swapped places on track, yeah, because they were ahead, and now we've got more battling as well, as Darren Lobb is sneaking back into the... No, Darren Lobb's dropped positions here in this last lap. And so this is going to be a moment somewhere. I get the feeling it might be down in the chicane, or is it turn number 1? It is the run down to turn number 1. It's a big braking moment down there, and that, I think, will also incur a slowdown penalty from taking too much of that curve, which is why he'll be quite slow out the other side, but never mind, he's off the road. Yeah. That'll self-clear itself. Yeah.
Oh, he's actually, hats off to Darren Lobb there, because if you get the car squirrely there, you generally don't really do too good of a job to pull it up. So the fact he only pulled it up, managed to get it pulled off, kept it off the grass mostly, and got it back on fairly quick, that's a decent effort. But yeah, maybe just the brake bias being that little bit too far backwards, and bit, or the downshift as well. Bit him.
Well, Scott Campbell has crossed the start-finish line. It is the final lap. There is only one more of them. In fact, he's already a few corners through the final lap of season number 16 of the V8 Veterans. Indeed, for Michael Stewart, we're just hearing that it's going to be a first podium from 120 V8 Veterans starts. So this is one way to sign, seal, and deliver the final race of the season. He'll be ecstatic with that one. And have a look at Paul Warwick in the final couple of laps, who's grabbed himself a whole bunch of points as well. This is a phenomenal drive from Paul. Dan Hall's back in 9th place. Brenton Nitschke won't be too upset with that season in 2nd place, but it's been a celebratory race. It was clean for all but 1.5 laps. Scott Campbell, ladies and gentlemen, is your season number 16 champion, wins the final race of the season, sends it off in style. Latham's going to come home 8 seconds back, and he will cross the start-finish line a few moments ago. But out of the last turn, I want to celebrate this one. For Michael Stewart, it's been a tough season. It's not been the way he would have wanted, but it's P3 for the 919 entry. He's been so close on a number of occasions. Tonight, he gets to drink the champagne.
Yeah, that would be a massive relief for shoulder. Well, we were talking about it. We were talking about it, but it looks like it happened. So that's been Chad Lewis is actually going to pick up 4th spot. We've got cars finishing at the moment. Got Travis Hunt in 18th spot, but yeah, crazy. We were talking about it. It looked like he was there. Was he out of fuel?
I don't necessarily think he's out of fuel. I think he's actually giving the spot to his teammate, to Chris Miller.
Yeah, hopefully get a replay on this. That's big championship implications there. Pardon the pun. But let's see what's going on. So we're just on board.
Got fuel. He's got fuel. He's just never picked up the throttle out of the last corner.
Yeah, looks all.
As soon as Chris Miller goes by,
yeah.
he picks up the throttle on the start finish straight. Watch this. So Dave Kirby, this is coming into the second last corner. Chad Lewis goes by. Still out of it. The engine is still running. Still running. Still running. Craig Friend is going to go by here. That's Chris Miller. That is a teammate. And Fishy Motorsports. And then he picks up the throttle. So that is giving Chris Miller points on the last lap of the race. Because that was a 4th place for Dave Kirby. He would have picked up a bunch of spots at the tail end of things in terms of points, but it wouldn't have been the be-all, end-all for him. It was the be-all, end-all for Chris Miller. So another donation of points. As it resolved itself, wasn't actually needed because of the incident with Jeff Thomas. But either way, committed to the team cause from Dave Kirby.
Yep, that's it. I know team orders in the real world is very controversial, but sometimes, yeah, if you're in a team,
you don't give up 4 spots. Or sorry, 3 spots. Like, I wouldn't let 3 cars. If he was right behind me, sure, you can understand it. But that's 3 spots, Mez.
Sometimes you'll just do whatever the team needs. If it's 3 spots or if it's 5 or more, sometimes we will just make that decision. It's up to the team at that point. I mean, I can't say exactly what would happen in my team in that situation, but usually I'd probably say if you next to him, you give the spot up. But yeah, in the end, it's a team decision, and obviously they felt that was needed. And yeah, controversial in the real world, and maybe some questions raised in this one as well.
Anyway, that'll be a topic to be discussed at a later date. But that, ladies and gents, the final race from season number 16. Scott Gamble, John Latham, Michael Stewart, your podium. Scott Gamble will take out the season and celebrate it with a win in style. Brent Nitschke sneaks into the 10 at the back end of the 10, but it's good enough for P2 in the championship. And Dan Hall in P number 9 will also take away P3. So that's the champagne in terms of how they finished in the team standings. So Scott McHugh just mic'd up on the radio and just said, "Can we never, ever, ever come to this track again?"
It's a really good track. I don't know why they're saying not to come back. I love this place. It's amazing.
Scott McHugh, you're off my Christmas card list.
What? Yeah. Oh man. What were we up to?
That's well, look, I'm out of. I won't have to send a Christmas card this year. That's a win. I'll take it.
Well, looking at the results again, Jamie McKnight in 11th spot. Jeff Thomas, obviously after that contact, was looking to pick up a 5th spot, but yeah, went backwards off that one. Jason Fewens in 13th spot. Steve Banks will come home in 14th. Robert Crisdale in 15th spot. Stephen Kennedy in 16th. Michael Quain, what could have been down to 17th. That's a big drop in that one. So that second stint, just not sure why, but that second stint just did not come alive for him. Travis Hunt in 18th spot, Robbie Griffiths in 19th, and Matt Vanderkraan, again, another one night, qualified exceptionally well, but the race, the start didn't go too well, and well, the rest of the race didn't appear to go any better.
He just never recovered, did he? He just never got away from what happened on that lap number 1. Dean Flavel will sneak home in 21st. Darren Crosby, Damien Cairns after the drive-through penalty, 23rd place. There was actually no further action called on that incident. I did actually hear an incident response actually for Travis Hunt one either. Tim Nicol, Chad Vigor, Todd Duggan, Greg Sharp, Peter Latham and Darren Lobb after that late incident. I get the feeling he might have had a drive-through penalty for his trouble as well with that issue late on in the piece. Will finish in 30th. 31st will be Matty Parker. Gee, he did not finish the season off well. There were some really, really good-looking finishes there for Matty Parker, who had pace at different points in time. Hallel says that. Andrew Hoffman told me tonight as well. He brought out a throwback paint to season number 10. 6 seasons he's waited to run the rusty old motorsport entry for his. Scott McCune, Tyburn, Christian Smart, and Laurie Sanders, you 2 non-starters. There were no non-finishes from that one. 2 laps down for Tyburn. It was not a great night, but most of the field on the lead lap. That was actually quite a clean race. It was just those last couple laps that everything sort of went haywire.
Yeah, well, last round of the championship, sometimes those things happen. It's your last opportunity to make a spot or get a result. So, yeah, you might throw caution a little bit to the wind. But other than that, like, yeah, tonight the racing was fantastic. Everyone seemed to have a bit of pace in the field. I also noticed before in practice session, I noticed the lap times were considerably close across the entire field. So, yeah, good night of racing, and a very, very good racetrack, and one that should definitely return to the calendar next season.
Disagreements with Scott McCune at the last race of the season from the commentary box. McCune, lift your game. Those are the words we're passing on. In the meantime, we'll jump across to our podium. I think we'll start in probably what is going to be the biggest celebration out of all tonight, which will be third place from tonight's race. I'll give Dan a little bit more time to adjust that one. Normally we go in the opposite direction. We'll talk to Michael Stewart first, because I can guarantee this is about to be a man who is going to go off his rocker. Michael Stewart, it's been a very, very long time in the V8 Veterans. We've been informed 120 races, my friend.
Yeah,
your first
like
ever
that.
Podium.
Yep, 120 races, first ever podium. So, mate, could not be happier. Just absolutely stoked. Yeah. Yeah. Lost for words, mate. Normally not lost for words, but lost for words at the moment. It's awesome.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your season, because there's been a couple moments. You've lurked in that top 5 a number of times this season. Last season, we saw a few moments. You know, you had some outright pace, but the consistency wasn't there. This season, that consistency was the big step up. The pace, yeah, you've taken another half step forward, but the consistency this season, mate, you've got to be happy.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, obviously, yeah, always, practicing and improving. And, I guess it's a few seasons ago, I was sort of getting, touching on that, getting close to the podium, and then a few more quicks came in, and then you get pushed back to the top 10, and then you get close to the podium again and get pushed back next season. So, mate, yeah, just can't be happier. It's sensational. So,
Mate,
and it couldn't happen on a better night. I was just saying to the boys that, as you know, Balin, my son, was stabbed, and his killer gets sentenced tomorrow. So we've got the sentencing tomorrow, and then next week it's actually Balin's birthday, and we've got a Balin Forever festival. So yeah, as any parent would, they'd chuck a party for their son, and it would have been Balin's 18th. So we're going to have a few beers for Balin on his 18th next week. So yeah, it couldn't happen at a better time.
Mate, obviously a really, really tough time for your family and whatnot. So just the opportunity to get out and experience something different always helps in that mindset. Obviously, we've had a lot of celebrations around Balliol as well with the V8 Veterans. It's such a big community here. And I like the fact that it was from somebody in chat tonight that said, celebrate him, 120 races, that's his first podium. That says to me, community. That's community right around. And I think that's what you enjoy about racing here. It's not, yeah, sure, the podium would be nice, because if you were chasing podiums, you wouldn't be here after 120 races. It's community, community, community. Yeah,
mate, 100%. Look, you go through a very dark time after an incident like that happens. And, to be quite honest, this kept my sanity. To be able to get on the sim, and you know what it's like. Like when you're trying to drive hard, you don't think of anything else, and it actually gave my brain a bit of a rest, because that losing your son, it's your whole life. Unfortunately, I'm the dad of the kid that got killed. So, to have this sort of escape is just unbelievable. Yeah, couldn't be happier, though.
Mate, in terms of things, what's changed behind the scenes? Obviously, it's, you've moved a little bit past and beyond that, but something has to change to get those results out. Is it the consistent practice? Do you do things a little bit differently in terms of your practice and race preparation? Because something's in that, and I want to try and capture that if I can.
Yeah, man. Like, I did some training earlier, like in the previous seasons with Madison Down. And I guess one of the best things that I picked up out of that was don't practice bad habits in. So don't do lap after lap after lap after lap. I don't know if, the guys watch me, but I'll come in and I'll do 20 laps, and then I'll go away, and I might not get on for another hour or two, and then I'll come back and do 20 laps. So I think that's probably the key change this season, is I've taken that mentality of doing more regular practices but shorter ones, and more meaningful practices.
Mate, obviously just absolutely wrapped with how the season's gone for you. This is a big result to finish it. I've been waiting for this day to happen. It was Matt van der Kraan last season. This season, you're the driver in the spotlight for me, mate. Congratulations, your opportunity to thank everyone that makes it possible for you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, obviously with the Balin Stewart Foundation, the major sponsor is the Cricks Auto Group, the company that I work for. They've been unbelievably, understanding. So I've got a shout out to them. Helm Accountants, who look after everything for the foundation, and Coop Media, who's actually Corbo's company. So, Glenn Corbett. So those companies have, supported us immensely. And then, it takes a village to raise a family, I guess, and we've just had an amazing family village around us of people helping us. And, I have to say the vets, mate, like the vets have been so supportive, put on events for us, kept my sanity, gave me some banter, gave me a lot of smiles, a lot of good times. Stuff happens on track and we have a couple of words and then the next day we're mates again. So I love it, man. Like I could not survive without the vets. I want to shout out to you guys, your broadcast. As you know, I copy your broadcast and put it on our Facebook page, and I love what you do. Race control, I don't know how you put up with all of this. You guys have just been bloody amazing. Kept cool heads all the time, and not obviously us drivers don't always have a cool head, so just outstanding. Jamie McKnight for his sets, like holy crap, how good are they? Just a big shout out to everybody from the vets community. I love yous all, and it's been great.
Mate, thank you very much. Just tell Scotty when you get back down there, when is he getting up and in this podium? And how much is he going to pay me to stop commentating next season?
Man, it's the running joke now, hey. The broadcaster's curse on McCune, it's just unbelievable. So, hey, we've been racing together for a while, and our goal is to get a top 10 together, and we've never done it. So, and that's even with Dumbrell when he was in Split 1 with us. We always got close, but we never got the chocolate. So hopefully maybe next season we'll be able to do it.
Mate, congratulations. I know you're going to celebrate. I know you're going to enjoy tonight, so we'll let you go back and enjoy all that, mate. Congratulations, and we'll see you next season for season number 17.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And Mez, that was a heartfelt celebration. There was a lot in that from Michael. He put a lot of emotion in that one, mate. And I think this one from John's going to be a little bit the same. It's a return to form for John Latham.
Yep, absolutely. John, welcome. Tonight, second place. Basically, once the race kicked off and you got a really, really good start, got into second place, and just did a fantastic job to manage it all night.
Yeah, hi everyone. It was a pretty good race. I think Scott just, he just had it over me tonight, so it's not much I could challenge him on. So I just drove round and drove my own race, and I was a little bit marginal on fuel towards the end, but it was fun to kind of rock up. I haven't raced since Red Bull Ring, so it was nice to get down to the sim and turn some laps and have fun with all the vets guys.
How good's obviously tonight running second, the big confidence booster? We sort of obviously haven't been for a few rounds, but even the rounds that you did do, the sort of results were a bit up and down. We were sort of mentioning our conversation during the race that ending a season on a really, really good result gives you a big confidence boost going into next season. Obviously, you're looking at running next season and having a really good night. How does that help for next year, for the next round?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a bit being older, but. I'm a bit disappointed in the season, and I think that's just that's mostly from my part, lack of effort. I know I can do a lot better, but it's nice to finish with a good result and not walk away going, oh, well, I didn't, this happened, that happened, I made a mistake here, I made lots of little mistakes, but I didn't put it off the road, I didn't bump anyone or have any accidents or anything like that. So it was a nice clean race to end the season, which is just a good way to end, really.
Absolutely. And looking forward to next season, are you sort of with this one in the bank, are you going to sort of look at, well, can we go into next season? Can you take it to Scott Gamble and give him a run for the championship?
Yeah, I think I can definitely challenge Scott. Just really depends on how much effort I put in. Like, you know, like I've rebuilt my other pedals, which I'm a lot more comfortable on. So I'll probably chuck them on for next season. We've got a couple of weeks break, which will give me some time to just do that. So that'll be good. And yeah, you never know. I haven't looked at the tracks or anything like that we're running, but yeah, it's just a great league to rock up and run in, man. You know, there's always a lot of respect and a lot of good racing, and even if you do have incidents and stuff like that, everyone kind of gets over it and moves on and goes to next week and has a good race.
Well, it's definitely a theme I'm sort of coming across. Obviously, I'm new to the series of stepping into the commentary role, but yeah, just you get that impression, as you sort of said, you know, things happen on track, and obviously we know from past experience in other V8 leagues, you know, things sort of tend to spill out, but is it good coming into this league where you can sort of look, something happens, it goes wrong, yeah, okay, words are said, but you'll come back next week and you'll get on with it, and it'll still be a really good race out on track.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no one's really spiteful or anything, so you know, like accident happens. So I think it's one good thing about the league is that, you know, everyone races hard. Accident happens, but you know, in the end, you look at. So I think some tracks are more conducive to more kind of biff and barge than other tracks. So yeah, I think they're debating 2 pit stops next year, compulsory pit stops and a few things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they throw at us next year, that we kind of have to adapt to and, you know, move forward with.
Are you for extra pit stops next season?
For me, it means more work on fuel strategy, which is harder. But I mean, yeah, I think for some tracks, it definitely spices it up. I think some tracks won't need it. So, in my opinion, is make it a 2-stop when it needs to. When, you know, you've got tracks maybe like Winton and stuff like that, where you can gain a lot in the pits, but other tracks where you don't really gain a lot from, you know, like pitting early or you know, having a really precise fuel strategy. I don't think you really need to. You know, a good racing track is a good racing track. You can race side by side. Some of the others are more technical, where you have to actually, you know, put in that effort on the strategy and you know, what you're actually going to do during the race, which, you know, some people really do really well. Me personally, I rely on the team a fair bit. I rock up and say, hey, what's the fuel strategy, guys? And then I just go with that. So, yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah. Have to ask, Oschersleben, is it good?
I actually enjoy the track. It's pretty technical, and it can catch you out napping. Like, it doesn't really have too much to rest, too many places to rest, but except maybe the front straight and the back straight. The rest of it's pretty full on. So you really kind of got to be on your game, I guess, because you can run off the track pretty easy. I'm not sure if that happened to many people tonight, but yeah, that first corner, if you don't get that right, yeah, you're off in the grass. So fun track. I think it's probably maybe a little bit hard to rate. Maybe, you know, you have to really force a pass due to the nature of the track. But as a driving it, it's I found it super fun.
Oh, there's another one that Scott and I can chalk and say, yep, it's a good track. So very good. Now, before we let you go, any shout outs that you want to do? Any sponsors?
Yeah, for sure. So the whole Vets League with all its sponsors, you know, the main sponsors and the guys behind the scenes and everything that makes the league what it is. Thank you very much for your efforts. You know, whether you're a sponsor or whether you're in race control, whether you're doing stuff behind the scenes like, you know, super vets and all that other stuff, you know, that's really great for a league. It engages people and keeps it kind of fresh and fun. So thanks very much for that. Thanks to Racecraft for being on the side of the car. Awesome place. And also I'd like to thank all the guys in the team. It's been a really fun year. It's been a shout out to my old man. He's raced in Split 1 all this year. Hasn't always had the results that he wanted, but he's had some great results as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure to race with me old man. You know, how often do you get to do that in your kind of sim racing life?
Mate, congratulations, John. It's been fantastic calling you for another season yet again, mate. It's good to see you back on form.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much for your broadcast. It's really fun to watch when I go back and watch it maybe on the weekend or something like that. So yeah, it's entertaining with a few beers.
Congratulations, mate. We'll see you again next season.
All right, thanks so much.
Just before we move on, Mez, I did actually just notice something. Remember how I said Scott McKeon said, yeah, can we never ever come back here? In the background of that, that is Scott McKeon right there. Michael Stewart's at the front end of the field having a great old night. Scott McKeon has gone, I never want to see this place again. I want to sit on my lid. I want to sit upside down, and I'll be comfortable here. Now we'll talk to Scott Gamble, the other Scott, who is definitely a lot more happy with how this race went. Scotty Gamble, it is official. Season 15, season 16. You are the man. 2 seasons in a row, man. You said you're going to take a step back this season. I think the difference this season was that the competition just did not have the consistency, whereas outright pace, yep, you were definitely there. You were up at the front, but the consistency was such a key factor this season.
Yeah, how you going, Scotty and crew? Yeah, super stoked back to back, and yeah, you're right. We were going to take a step back, but when the offer come from WKNP Sim Sports, I sort of had to have a little look at it. There was a few other offers around with other teams, and I wasn't going to join in teams. I was just going to let's have fun and just be real casual. But I sort of thought, hang on, these guys at WKNP Sim Sports, they've given so much to this league, other leagues, and the sim racing community, and maybe and it helped motivate me, and I thought, well, maybe I can go in there and give one back. So this was to those lads, to those boys there, and they get to put this on their mantelpiece. So yeah, thanks guys.
Mate, in terms of things, obviously I think that was, of the two, that was obviously far and away the more dominant of the two. There was a lot more race wins there. You come to the last half of the race here, you're in cruise control mode a little bit. I get the feeling you might have intentionally taken some extra fuel for the extra skids at the end of the race.
Yeah, we only took on 2 litres. I mean, I burned a fair bit early, and I'm always thirsty on fuel. I don't bother with too much with fuel savings, so I just go for it. But yeah, we had a couple of litres to get back around and do a little burnout over the line, which was good.
In terms of things, how do you step it up? How do you match it next season? What's the next step for you? Because when you're at the top, when you're at the peak of the game, and we see this right the world over, not only in motorsports, but in all sports, all of a sudden there's a target on your back. Now you've done it 2 seasons in a row. Somebody's going to step up. Somebody's going to fill that void, mate. Who are you expecting?
You're not wrong about having a target on my back. I have felt that, and there's been a few remarks this season, of certain crews, but overall there's the positivity from the drivers and mates and teams, and even Evolution Racing, the guys there that are left, the positivity with them and has been remarkable. So yeah, there definitely has been a marker on me, and they've come to get me at times, but you know what, I sort of looked at it and it started to upset me a little bit actually, because I'm like, well, I don't deserve this, but then I sort of thought about it. I thought, what, I've got nothing to prove to anyone. Like, I've done as much as I needed to do. I did this season was for WKNP Sim Sports. We've done it. We achieved it. I've got nothing to prove to those people. So next season, I will be taking races off deliberately on purpose, so that it does refocus, reset me to spend more time with my kids, give them that time and cherish the time that I've got with them. And yeah, so we've done what we set out to achieve. So yeah, we do need to step back, have fun, enjoy our racing, and be around those people that are positive, and that keep us have a laugh with them and a beer, when we catch up.
Mate, we talked to Michael Stewart obviously just before. I get the feeling you might have actually had a few words with him post that race. It's about community here, which I get was a lot of the reason why you made the switch over to WK and MP. It wasn't about let's go out, let's run with the biggest and the best. It was about let's go run with the guys that are having the most fun. And we talked last season, I think, about this stage. You said, yeah, look, I wanted to change things up. I wanted to be a little bit more passive coming into this season. Probably wanted to do a little bit less in in terms of practice laps? Did you make that definitive step back? Was there a little bit of a step back, and season 17 becomes that larger step back where you want to be around the family a lot more?
Yeah, absolutely, Scotty. The laps that the guys seen in practice, well, that's all the practice laps I did for vets this season. Admittedly, I was racing in another league, which was about 2 weeks earlier, and we ran very similar, or a lot of the time the same tracks as vets. So I was getting a ton of practice. So, to do the racing rather than practicing lap after, well, day after day, night after night, same track, it burns you up. So I've really enjoyed getting out there and racing in other leagues, other environments, and there's been other challenges along the way with that. So I've enjoyed it, but yep, we will be stepping back. We will be taking time. We've got a new camper trailer. We're going to hit the beaches. We're going to hit the Murray River, and we're going to go do some of these real remote tracks. So I'm really looking forward to getting out there and exploring and living life with my kids and spending that moment. And like you say, when you chat with people like Michael, who did reach out to me during the week, and I really appreciate those guys that did have my back with the goings on. Thank you very much. And but yeah, when you talk to people like Michael, you have to really value what you've got in front of you, and sometimes just a little chat like that makes you wake up and think, hey, what else can I be doing? What can I give the people that are most important to me? And yeah, his story really hits a point with me, and I've followed it along, and yeah, we're always there for him.
Mate, it's your opportunity to thank everyone that obviously makes it possible. It's been another phenomenal season to watch. It's been good talking to you the bulk of the way throughout the season, man. So the floor is yours for the next, couple minutes. Take as long as you need.
Yeah, cheers, guys. First off, I'd like to thank you guys for the broadcast. You've done it for 2-3 seasons now, and it's been fantastic and really brought vets to the sim racing community out there, and there's been getting quite a few views, and the quality is phenomenal. So thanks, guys, and really appreciate that. To the drivers of V8 veterans, you guys are champions. You know who you are, and I really appreciate what you guys have done for me and for the team, and the support that you've given me and helped me get through the rough times. As some of you know, like I'm closer to 48 than I'd like to remember. I'm disabled. I'm a veteran, and just not a V8 veteran either. So I have my issues going on and my problems that we have to overcome. And thank you to the guys and girls that are there and support me to be able to let me do this sim racing. And to WKMP Sim Sports, we done it. We got it. Thank you. You guys are legends, and you've had me back this whole season, and yeah, absolutely appreciate it. So thank you very much, and probably a shout out to our DSO, which is our driving standards officer, Mark Duggan. He sits quietly away there each week watching, and he's an absolute legend. And yeah, thanks, mate.
Hey, congratulations. Lap it up. Enjoy it all. It's season number 16. And Scott Gamble does the double. There was no one on the windshield. Are you going to come back and win the few rounds you do next season? Is it time to put the one up there and just enjoy it for the couple that you are here for, or...?
There was a story going around about that, and they asked me what I wanted to do, and you know what? I don't really care about having one on the windshield. So I just said if the team wants it or if the league wants it, they can do it. Otherwise, you know what? I'll just keep running my number, and we'll turn up to the races that we do, and we'll go out there and enjoy it and see if we can ruffle a few feathers along the way.
All right, time for you to go off, rattle some cages in celebration instead of in commiseration, mate. Congratulations on season number 16. We'll see you again next season.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
And in the meantime, Mez, I think Dan Yeaman has been furiously tapping away. He's been checking with the big heads behind the scenes. He's been looking at the spreadsheet. He's got a list. He's checked it twice. It's not Santa's list. It's Dan's points graphic, and that it is on the screen. It's Scott Gamble that takes out the championship. Brett Nitschke will come home in second place. And how's this? You know what? That spot that Dave Kirby gave up on the last lap did matter.
Yep, absolutely. We did sort of grab the, fortunately enough, thank you, Race Control, for that. We got the results back from the incident points. And yes, 5 extra bonus points for Chris Miller. So that has played massively into it. And yeah, that giving that position up. Obviously, we said 3 positions is a lot of things to give up.
Hang on. We're having a look at things.
Hang on.
You
We
know what I
may
said about?
have been fed.
I was just saying, he's checked it twice. No, he's calculated the points twice. He's punched the points in for tonight twice. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a spreadsheeting error. Bear with us. Please insert the elevator hold music right now whilst we do some calculations in the background. It happens, doesn't it? Yeah, it's human error. The spreadsheet was right. The human error part was wrong.
Well, here's the funny thing is the person who did the spreadsheet is the guy I go to about spreadsheets all the time. He's my guru on spreadsheets, so it's a bit awkward when the guru stuffs it up for you.
Dan, jump in here because I know you're talking to us in the background. Can I get you to unmute that microphone to celebrate it here?
Right. I'm live on air. I'm live on air. They can all hear me now.
You've done some commentating this season. It has been a good season. What have you got for us in terms of points? I know you love a numbers graph. I know you love a spreadsheet. What have you got for me?
Well, this is the thing. So I can supposedly load in the points from tonight, but it seems like for some reason it's applying them in the sheet, and then it's looking at the results and going, and I'll just add them on top again. So I think I might have to go do some support digging, because when I throw this up here, for reference, Scott Gamble came into tonight's race with 1,409. We only have 187 points on offer for Scott. In the case of tonight, he got pole position bonus point there, race win 180, fastest lap during the race is another point there to him, and another 5 points on top of that for finishing the race with 0 incidents. So, unfortunately, there it seems that when I tell it to spit out the provisional results from tonight, it's applied them on top of the race. Like it's basically applying the race results twice. Although in saying that, and the reason I did that was so I could actually get the bonuses points, and also the fact that Chad Lewis 20 championship point penalty for his contact with Jeff Thomas there that we caught on replay in the dying stages of the race. So what I will do is I'll remove tonight's points and the edits I made to them. These are roughly the championship points, but we do not have bonus points for 0x, and we do not have, I believe we might be missing a point for Scott in pole position in qualifying. So, and also missing, say, Chad Lewis's 20 penalty points that he's picking up from race control post-race. So this is very much provisional standings here on screen. Dan Hall might just have done enough there by the looks of things to hang on to P3 in the championship.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that last lap change of position for Dave Kirby and Chris Miller may not have changed things. After all, we can go back to our further statements. Yeah, that's it. Ladies and gents, if you're watching along at home, you're enjoying the final round of the V8 Veterans, the best way that you can keep up to date, keep an eye out for it midweek. We might have a chat to Jay, see if we can get those finalised points put out, given that we weren't able to do them level. We'll see what we can do behind the screen so that they can get shared around a little bit, but this is our best guess at the moment. This is pretty approximate. This is very, very close, I would say, with a couple bonus points yet to come, ladies and gentlemen. So there will be some shuffling in this, but not a huge deal. It was quite a close season. I think that's the kicker that we can sort of have, is that have a look at the number of guys here. That there's 4 points between Tim Nicol and Robert Crisdale, again, provisionally. There's a single point back to Scott McCune. There's 10 points back to Fewens. There's Damien Cairns and Travis Hunt are only 1 point apart, and both of those guys had incidents in the last couple laps of the race. That did have complications. Christian Smart and Brenton O'Brien finished the top 20 out, tied, dead heated on 11.67. That is actually one of the closest seasons. That's definitely
three-way tie. We've got a three-way tie
for 19th place.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't say the last race of the season doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. It did.
It sure did. I mean, yeah, as you said, I've been on the mic a couple of times this season. I jokingly remarked, I think once or twice, but behind the scenes, that you guys couldn't get rid of me on the microphone for some reason, even though I'm paid to take care of the cameras and the production. But lo and behold, Brady Baldwin taking a trip to the United States. He's back in Australia, so we might get him back on the mic. But I also almost suggested maybe we have 3 in the comms box, but maybe 4's a crowd once you add me in too.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see about it. Mez, how much is an assassin to get rid of Dan? Do you have that guy on speed dial at all? No, you don't? Okay, never mind. We'll have to put up with Dan another season. Ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. Just because I'm Italian. Just because I'm Italian. Wow.
Okay, I didn't even know that. Now I did. Thank you very much, Mez. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been season number 16 of the V8 Veterans, proudly brought to you by all the sponsors that make it possible. Scott Gamble celebrated, and then at the end of everything, we saw the moment from Scott McCune. We are going to get it in all its glory, because this is what he thinks of Oschersleben. Yes, parked there on his lid. Was it K-Mag or was Hulkenberg that said, get me out, I'm hanging here like a cow?
One of those. Unfortunately, I'm not quite. You're not up to speed on exactly who pulled that trigger there, but yeah, that was that's quite the way to I guess express your displeasure at the circuit.
Now I'm wondering who made that quote. I remember that's one of my favourite quotes from Formula One, and the fact that I've gotten it wrong bothers me slightly. Anyway, that's one of the ways to finish off the season. The other one is with Scott Gamble. If you want to join us along for next season, registrations have started. Must be 40 years of age or over. Spots are strictly limited to 135 spots. They said they're putting a hard limit on that one. Qualifying will result as well. To get into season number 17, you will need to jump into the V8 Veterans Discord. And then for me, Dan, can you grab those sponsors back up on the screen, ladies and gents? 21st of September 2023 will be the first round of season number 17. Season 16 has proudly been brought to you by Player One Sim Gear, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Nova Sim Sports, and our main sponsor, Logitech G. We could not do it. We could not be possible without all of those sponsors, without the drivers in question. It's been a phenomenal season number 16. Final thoughts, gentlemen, starting with you, Mez.
Obviously, yes, came in very late in this series, but it's been exceptional. Every night that we've turned up and watched this, it's been interesting. It's been action packed. Obviously, yes, discovering more about the drivers and as they've progressed through their vets careers, and be good to see what happens next season if I'm involved. Fingers crossed I am. But yeah, if I do get the chance to come back next season, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be another fantastic one.
And then finally from you, Dan, it's been a cracker of a season, mate. Top moment?
Oh, top moment. That is hard to say. I think, obviously, I get the privilege of seeing everything and trying to capture everything for you guys on screen, and trying to and juggling things back and forth. I mean, I think I couldn't honestly pick one moment from the single season, because you get to see things like, yeah, Scott Gamble here. I believe that's race win number 6 of the season. If I'm getting my names and getting things right there, so it's great to see him able to go back to back with the season. But also things like Craig Friend winning last week at Windsor Motor Raceway, which is his first for the series. And Michael Stewart, the fact that, as you said, we've 2 seasons, we've seen him get pretty damn close to some really solid results. Gets a podium here tonight, and the fact that it also happens to have him a personal sort of slant and timing is sweet in a sense, and the chance to also be able to contribute to paying memory to Bale Stewart, and to actually learn about the story of the Stewart Bale story and the story of the Stewart family has also been quite important to me, and sort of just learning more about the great community, and the fact that the racing is incredibly hard, incredibly fierce, and crucial. Yes, sometimes tempers flare for a moment after races, but all in all, they get back down to work and they sort it out on track, hard and fair next time around, and make it 5 race wins for Scott Gamble this season. I'll get my math right by pulling up the season stats coming into this evening there.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to a close. What are you going to be doing for the next couple of Thursdays? I've got time. I don't want time. I want more V8 Veterans. It'll be coming for you live from the 21st of September. We'll be back for season number 17. That's it. We're out of here. We are Scott McCune sitting on his lid at the exit of turn number 1, because it's over. It's all done. We'll see you next season.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.